बिहारी
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यमुनातीरावनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
जय राधमाधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधमाधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधमाधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर शिल प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर शिल प्रभुपाद की
जय
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसति गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगामय की यमुनामय की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna, all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna, all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna, all glories to Sri Guru and Gaurang. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Can somebody switch off those lights behind? I don't think there's need of those two lights. हाँ हाँ अभी क्या है, अभी गर्मी थोड़ा गर्मी बढ़ रहा है ना. खिड़की खुला है, दोनों खुला है, तीनों खुला है. हाँ वो ठीक है. Okay. A quick revision of yesterday.
Prabhuji, we were speaking about rectification part, that how the Supreme Lord can turn the external energy into an internal energy by his own sweet will. And then the external energy subsides also by the will of the Supreme Lord only.
So when does the Lord do that?
In terms of repentance and penance for a conditioned soul like myself. And the same internal energy then acts to help the purified living person. And then you also mentioned that very nice point, Prabhuji, that all the sinful actions are burnt into the fire of repentance. And the penance is actually the rectification part. So when we take up to that purificatory process more intensely, more seriously, then we intensely chant and, we please Krishna and Guru more seriously. And then you gave the example of Jagai and Madhai also. And that the positive rectification they made is like, they made some cards and then they were saying that please throw these stones upon us and such.
Okay, good. Thank you. Something more? हाँ brother.
We refer to 4:30:20, where it was said that for sincere devotee and one who has no ulterior motive, what if everything actually remains fresh for him? Everything related to Krishna is Katha, pastimes are fresh for him.
Yes, Paramatma makes everything fresh, ever fresh. Mother.
Discussion on the Duryodhan, Balramji's affection past time. There are a lot of discussion. So one cannot try to understand everything about Krishna because he's Swarat. Sometimes we have to accept it as a pastime. We cannot analyze everything.
Correct. Yes. Something else? वहां प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी है सॉल्यूशन मांगने के लिए.
किसका प्रॉब्लम, सॉल्यूशन किसका? There is no solution. You have to simply hear the pastime and take the nourishment. There is no solution there. We never came to the solution, correct?
So anyways, we read that article where it was mentioned that so basically it was simply external.
Of course, that is a Bhagavad Maharaj said that some disciples they only say Guru Guru, they forget the Krishna, they forget the Vaishnavas.
Right. So basically it was Balram is showing that affection, not because Duryodhana is a devotee, but because he's a student. He's a So
Lord has affection for everybody because it's all are their children only.
Correct.
So then selfless seva by Sudama's wife, the selflessness with which she is serving her husband.
Right.
That was a very deep point. And then Sudama's, intent with which he goes to meet Krishna, not for what was asked, but something else.
Okay, good.
So Acharya gives the method, and then by following that principles rigidly, then we get spiritual strength, and then grace of the Lord comes, and mercy of the Lord is there.
Right. So we had an elaborate discussion on grace, how the grace of the Lord is required to overcome the obstacles. In what context we discussed about this grace? हाँ, क्या है वो?
So, 819 Bali Maharaj section. So
क्या है वो?
actually, basically, you said that basically discussing about the offense, begin with the offense, na?
नहीं, उसके पहले वो था, वो क्या है? वो 8th canto किया था वो?
Prabhuji, before that, even in the first canto, 4th chapter, Vyasdev was
हाँ, ठीक है, वो
dissatisfied.
satisfaction के लिए. Okay, how
हाँ.
the Brahmana has to be satisfied, that was a discussion. How
Yeah.
Sudama was satisfied, so that was what we were discussing. And so in that context, we came to what Vamandev, Lord Vamandev is telling Bali Maharaj. So what Lord Vamandev told Bali Maharaj?
So he said that if a Brahmana is unsatisfied, his teja will decrease, his spiritual potency will decrease.
Yes.
So there we then started discussion that how can spiritual potency decrease?
Correct. And then if he's satisfied, then if he's not satisfied, then what happens? The spiritual potency reduces, just like
A fire diminishes in
Yes.
potency when water is sprinkled upon it.
Yes. Okay. So and then in that context, we were discussing about spiritual potency and grace, how to attract grace, all that we were discussing. Okay. Fine. So now we'll proceed ahead. So today we will.
So we saw Yukta Vairagya.
We discussed about Yukta Vairagya, so many things we discussed. Everything in connection to that simplicity of Brahmanas. So now we'll go ahead with the pastime. Today we will not deviate too much from the topic. Of course, we never deviated, but we'll stick to the
just
story.
the first 2 days, just like you gave us some project to do within 10 minutes. If you could do that again, we will understand better. Yes, with reflection. You gave us you asked us a question and asked us to work.
Group work.
Group work. That will make us really, reflect and understand.
What do you say? Wait. Everything in the context of time. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada in his Krishna book on this 80th chapter, he writes a few wonderful statements. So I just thought of reading that. So the beginning of the, if you want, you can show Krishna book. 80th chapter. So this is a fourth paragraph. Maharaj Parikshit, no, next paragraph. Maharaj Parikshit continued by saying that the function of the ear can be perfected simply by engagement in hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord, and the function of the head can be fully utilized. थोड़ा और और नीचे, हाँ नीचे, हाँ परीक्षित महाराज। ये 80 है ना? No. Okay, fine. Go one more paragraph down. Hmm. Okay, Maharaj Parishad continued by saying that the function of the ear can be perfected simply by engagement in hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord, and the function of the head can be fully utilized when the head is engaged in bowing down before the Lord and his representative. That the Lord is represented in everyone's heart is a fact, and therefore the highly advanced devotee offers his respects to every living entity, considering that the body is the temple of the Lord. So these points are not directly in the verses. These are additional points which Srila Prabhupada is inserting here. So he's talking about Uttam, Madhyam and Kanishta. But it's not possible for all men to come to that stage of life immediately, because that stage is for the first class devotee. The second class devotee can consider the Vaishnavas or the devotees of the Lord to be representatives of Krishna. And the devotee who is just beginning, the neophyte or third class devotee, can bow his head before the deity in the temple and before the spiritual master, the direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in the neophyte stage, in the intermediate stage, or in the fully advanced perfected stage, one can make the function of the head perfect by bowing down before the Lord or his representative. So he's talking about these three levels. Similarly, one can perfect the function of the eyes by seeing the Lord and his representative. In this way, everyone can elevate the functions of the different parts of his body to the highest perfectional state simply by engaging them in the service of the Lord or his representative. If one is able to do nothing more, he can simply bow down before the Lord and his representative. Prabhupada is repeating this, the Lord and his representative. Everywhere he is writing that. And drink the Channamrit, the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Lord or his devotee. Okay. So then he begins. There was a nice Brahmana friend of Lord Krishna. Here Prabhupada also does not write the name Sudama. Interesting. Because the Bhagavatam doesn't give the name, Prabhupada is also not giving name here. As a perfect Brahmana, he was very elevated in transcendent knowledge, and because of his advanced knowledge, he was not all attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he was very peaceful and had achieved supreme control over his senses. This means that the Brahmana was a perfect devotee, because unless one is a perfect devotee, he cannot achieve the highest standard of knowledge. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that a person who has come to the perfection of knowledge surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's the verse? Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samadhi. In other words, any person who has surrendered his life for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has come to the point of perfect knowledge. The result of perfect knowledge is that one becomes detached from the materialistic way of life. Okay, so this is the symptom of one who has perfect knowledge, virakti. This detachment means complete control of the senses, which are always attracted by material enjoyment. The senses of the devotee become purified, and in that stage, the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the complete field of devotional service. Although the Brahmana friend of Lord Krishna was a householder, he was not busy accumulating wealth for very comfortable living. Therefore, he was satisfied by the income which automatically came to him according to his destiny. This is the sign of perfect knowledge. So, again, this is the sign of perfect knowledge. A man in perfect knowledge knows that one cannot be happier than he is destined to be. In this material world, everyone is destined to suffer a certain amount of distress and enjoy a certain amount of happiness. The amount of happiness and distress is already predestined for every living entity. No one can increase or decrease the happiness of the materialistic way of life. Okay, so all these are not in the Bhagavatam verses. These are all additional things Prabhupada is writing. This is the beauty of the Krishna book. So, how will you substantiate this with some quotes and examples? Amount of happiness and distress is already predestined for every living entity. No one can increase or decrease. Yes. That Prahlad Maharaj's verse is there, and today Prabhuji was quoting. Taseva heto prayate ko na labhyate yad. Tal labhyate dukkavad anyata sukam kalena sarvatra gabir ramasa. Okay, now give some examples to prove this.
Prabhuji, in Ramayana we have Shabri, Kevat, and even in our Bhagavatam itself we have the fruit vendor.
So that fruit vendor story goes against this point.
Okay, I am sorry that I mentioned fruit vendor, but at least I know about Shabri and Kevat.
Shabri, what happened?
Shabri was selfless. She just followed the orders of the spiritual master. And in return, she did not want anything. She was pretty selfless. So,
See, what we are discussing is that amount of happiness and distress is predestined. That is the discussion.
okay.
It cannot be increased or decreased.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhuji, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Prabhuji, this
Krishna Prabhuji.
Chitraketu Maharaj, he was already told crores of wives he married, the child was not destined. But then he wanted to go against that and get it. Then again, that misery came in Harshashoka form.
Okay, that's a good example. Yes, he was not destined to get a child.
Srila Prabhupada gives one example actually that pig is in the body of the living entity in the body of pig. Even if you give them halwa, it will not eat because he is not destined to eat that. The pleasure, according to his body, whatever is destined, he will search for that pleasure only.
Okay.
So the amount of pleasure what pig can enjoy, that is already in the body of pig. It cannot increase.
Okay.
It will remain in gutter only.
Okay, fine. Animals we understand, but what about human beings?
Prabhupada says that one more thing for humans. Prabhupada says you cannot increase much appreciably. Like if somebody has a Luna body, he cannot compare with the Mercedes because his body is like a Luna.
No, but you see, I don't have Luna or Mercedes body. So put it in more tangible terms for human beings.
Prabhupada says like dog is running on the 4 legs.
Arey Baba, what dog ke liye?
And no, I'm saying then he says that we are running on the 4 wheel of the car. So he was saying what is the difference between quality of dog or car? He says that there's no difference in quality. So he says that you can only little bit increase appreciably, not more. You can change the destiny little bit, not more. He says.
ठीक है, आपके पास mic है.
Prabhupada says one day he saw some nice house, very big house. Boys are coming with big hippies and they are going into the
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. So although they are born, but they are, because of the karma, they are suffering.
Yes, this is Prabhupada's example. So he says, so the boy is born in rich family, is rich parents, but is lying on the street. Why? Destined. So that's what Srila Prabhupada says. So in connection to that, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of people in India. So he said, when I was in Bombay, I saw people were there on the footpath in Bombay. 50 years back, they were there. Now also you'll find people on the footpath. So even if they're given some home or something, they will either put it and give it on rent or sell it, and they continue to remain on the footpath. Why? Destines. Cannot change. And then Srila Prabhupada says, I thought only in India people are on the footpath. When I went to America, I saw there also people on the footpath, in the park, on the bench. Police is kicking on their face, but still they're there. Can't change.
This, I don't know the exact story, but Lord Shiva and Parvati, they are going, they see some beggar. And Parvati says that you should give him something. He's such a beggar. So then Lord Shiva says, no, he's destined to be beggar. You don't try to force. But she says, no, give something. So then I think in some watermelon or something, Lord Shiva hides some jewels. And then he takes as a Brahmana, as a form of Brahmana, and gives the watermelon to the beggar so that he will open and get a lot of money. But then this beggar, when he takes that watermelon, he sells off to somebody for 10 rupees. And he has 10 rupees. So Lord Shiva said, see, you heard this story? somewhere.
Hmm.
No? I had heard this.
But anyway, the point is correct. Yes.
Prabhuji, also can we mention that story where a rich man, he is hospitalized and he's about to die, and he tells the doctor that please increase my life for another 4 days. Is it the correct understanding, Prabhuji?
Okay, fine. So, yes, happiness cannot be increased, life also cannot be increased, everything is destined. Okay, fine. So, therefore, the Brahmana therefore did not exert himself for more material happiness. Instead, he used his time for advancement in Krishna consciousness. And then this point we discussed yesterday. The wife was not anxious for a personal comfort, but she felt concern for her husband, who was such a pious Brahmana. She trembled due to her weak health, and although she did not like to dictate to her husband, she spoke as follows.
Krishna, bro. Dhritarashtra was destined to lose his 100 sons because
Yes,
of previous.
correct. Yes.
Prabhuji, in Bhagavad Gita introduction, Lord Prabhupada writes that one's destiny can be changed by elevating oneself in the knowledge.
Krishna consciousness.
Yes. So as you mentioned just now, that beggars, they will sell their property and remain beggar only.
Correct.
So if they become Krishna conscious, they will start living a high quality of life. Means materially may be smaller, but spiritually they will become more.
And if Krishna wants even materially,
materially also they can increase.
Correct.
So their reactions will be finished.
Yes, that's the only solution. That's the only solution. Okay, fine. So now we'll continue with the Bhagavatam. Where are we? 28, na? Okay. So we read the whole thing, how Sudama goes and then he meets and then Krishna welcomes him and Rukmini is doing charmer, all that. And now Krishna is beginning to speak with Sudama, recollecting his childhood pastimes. Okay, text 28. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Api Brahman Gurukulat Bhavata Labdha Dakshinat Samavrittena Dharmagya Bharyodha Sadrishinava. The Supreme Lord said, My dear Brahmana, you know well the ways of Dharma. After you offered the gift of remuneration to our Guru and returned home from his school, did you marry a compatible wife or not? Purport.
Among civilized human beings, the question of ashram or spiritual order is significant. In other words, every human being must execute prescribed duties as a celibate student, married man or woman, a retired person or a renunciate. Since Lord Krishna could see that the Brahmana was poorly dressed, he inquired if his friend had been properly married and was executing the duties of household life. Since he was not dressed as a renunciate, he would be without a suitable ashram unless he were properly married.
Since he was not dressed as a renunciant, he would be without a suitable ashram unless he were properly married. So Vedic culture doesn't allow in between. All right. Whatever you may call it. Okay. 29. Prayo griheshu te chittam akama vihitam tata naivati priyase vidman dhaneshu viditam hime. Even though you're mostly involved in household affairs, your mind is not affected by material desires. Nor, O learned one, do you take much pleasure in the pursuit of material wealth. This I am well aware of. Purport, Lord Krishna here reveals that in fact he was well aware of his friend's situation. So Dhamma was actually learned, spiritually advanced, and therefore he was not interested in ordinary sense gratification, as is the common man. Okay, so Vishnu Chakravarti on the verse, he says, even though you're not speaking out of embarrassment, I know everything. So Krishna says, I know everything, even though you're not telling about your situation. With that intention, he speaks this verse. Though you're a householder, your heart is not disturbed by lust, I know. O wise one, Vidwan, that knowing the temporary nature of material enjoyment, you have little attraction for wealth, clothing, and other things. Therefore, I will not give these things now. The word praya, almost not, and ati, not too attached, indicate if you are attached only because of the request of your wife, I will give these things later. Just see, this man, though a householder, is without desires and does not desire anything from others. Even if forcibly given, he will not accept things. To broadcast his fame in Dwaraka, I will not reveal his desire to anyone and therefore will not give anything visible to him here. Okay, so Krishna also wanted to glorify Sudama by showing that he has no desires. So if he would have given him something in Dwaraka, then people would have thought that Sudama came with some desires. So therefore he didn't give anything, so that people understand that he came without any desires. 30. Kechit kurvanti karmani kame rahat chetasah tyajanta prakritir devir yathaham loka sangraham. Having renounced all material propensities which spring from the Lord's illusory energy, some people execute worldly duties with their minds undisturbed by mundane desires. They act as I do to instruct the general populace. Okay, so this we can recollect Bhagavad Gita. So some people execute worldly duties with their minds undisturbed by mundane desires. They act as I do to instruct the general populace. So which section of Bhagavad Gita is talking about this? Third chapter. Which verses? So the section beginning from third chapter, 17th verse. From 17th verse, Krishna is explaining that how Atmarati, he's talking about Atmarati, somebody who's fixed in Atma, then he has no desires. But still, one performs one's prescribed duties just to set an example. And then he talks about Yadyada Acharati Shrestha. And in that context, he gives his own example that even though he has no duties because he has no desires, name karma nilimpanti, name karma phale spriha, but still he says, I perform my duties just so that, what? Otherwise what he says, if I don't perform my duties, what will happen? Yes, people will follow my example, and the result of that will be Varna Sankara. And so therefore, they act as I do. That means they don't have any material desires, but they perform their duties just to instruct the general populace. Okay, Vishnu Chakra's commentary on this verse. I know that you did not take sannyas like others, even though you are very renounced. Some, being detached, perform activities with minds unattached to desirable objects. Others perform activity in order to give up their mental natures produced by the Lord's will, their contaminated state of subtle desires for material enjoyment. As an example of the first type, I perform activities as they should be done to teach people. 31. Kachid gurukule vasam brahman smarasino yataha dvijo vigyaya vigneyam tamasa paramashnute. Okay, read.
My dear Brahmana, do you remember how we lived together in our spiritual master school? When a twice-born student has learned from his guru all that is to be learned, he can enjoy spiritual life which lies beyond all ignorance.
Okay, so he's reminding how they stayed together in the Gurukul. And he's saying that Dvija Vigyaya Vigneyam Tamasa Param Ashnute. So when he learns what is meant to be learnt, and when he learns what all he's supposed to learn, then the result will be, can come out of tamasa, and then he enjoys or he experiences blissful life. So therefore the purpose is, as we were discussing, not only Gyan but Vigyan, both have to be learnt. Gyan, Vigyan, both have to be learnt. One has to experience the higher taste. That should be the result of the education in the Gurukul and the ashram. So if one goes through the education properly, the training properly, then one can experience the higher spiritual happiness. So if one doesn't take the education seriously, one does not follow, then one cannot experience the higher tastes. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada has written that famous statement in Narad Muni section, unless one is self-controlled, unless one is disciplined, and unless one is fully obedient, no one can be successful in following the instructions of spiritual master, and without doing so, no one can go back home, back to Godhead. So these are all part of the training that is required. So if we learn from the training, we bring about some change in our life, then we can experience the superior happiness. If we do things superficially, we don't take the training seriously, there's no change, then one cannot experience this higher happiness. One cannot come out of the tamaha, one cannot come out of the ignorance. So it's everyone's responsibility to take the training seriously. For whose benefit? For one's own benefit. Okay, here in the commentary says, in his mind Sudama was doubting. Because he worships me in this way, though I am so low, is he doing this because he thinks I'm someone else? Interesting, huh? So Sudama is thinking, does Krishna actually recognize me, or he's thinking somebody else has come? Why is showing so much respect? So in order to dispel this doubt, Krishna then makes him recall their school days together in 12 verses. So Krishna wants to show that, yes, I remember, you are that same Sudama. So therefore he is speaking about his. Do you remember our living at the Gurukul, by which gaining knowledge of God, the Brahmana crosses over the material worlds? So I'm just seeing what. Interesting. Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he says boarding school for Gurukul. Prabhupada puts everything in modern day context so that people can understand. Western people have no idea of Gurukul. Right? They have no idea. Prabhupada was the first one to introduce the concept of Gurukul in the Western world. So, and I think so that Gurukul started after Srila Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book. Correct? Prabhupada wrote this in 69, the Gurukul came later. So therefore Prabhupada is writing here boarding school. If a man is sufficiently, the same verse Prabhupada is paraphrasing in his Krishna book. If a man is sufficiently educated in student life under the guidance of a proper teacher, his life becomes successful in the future. He can very easily cross over the ocean of nations, and he is not subject to the influence of the illusory energy. Okay, 32. Savai satkarmanam sakshad dvijateriha sambhavaha adyo anga yatrashraminam yataham jnanado guru. Okay.
My dear friend, he who gives a person his physical birth is his first spiritual master, and he who initiates him as a twice born Brahmana and engages him in religious duty is indeed more directly his spiritual master. But a person who bestows transcendental knowledge upon the members of all the spiritual order of society is one's ultimate spiritual master. Indeed, he is as good as my own self.
So Krishna is speaking about spiritual masters, talking about Gurukul. So therefore he's talking about spiritual masters. And Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he says, my dear friend, everyone should consider his father to be his first teacher, Because by the mercy of one's father, one gets this body. The father is therefore the natural spiritual master. Our next spiritual master is he who initiates us into transcendental knowledge, and he is to be worshipped as much as I am. The spiritual master may be more than one. The spiritual master who instructs the disciple about spiritual matters is called Shiksha Guru, and the spiritual master who initiates the disciple is called Diksha Guru. Both of them are my representatives. There may be many spiritual masters who instruct, but the initiator spiritual master is one. Prabhupada is giving all these details here. A human being who takes advantage of these spiritual masters and receiving proper knowledge from them crosses the ocean of material existence is to be understood as having properly utilized his human form of life. He has practical knowledge that the ultimate interest of life, which is to be gained only in this human form, is to achieve spiritual perfection and thus be transferred back home, back to Godhead. Okay, 33. Nanvarta kovida brahman vannashrama vatamiha ye maya guruna vacha tarantyagyo bhavanavam.
Certainly, O Brahmana, of all the followers of the Varnashram system, those who take advantage of the words I speak in my form as a spiritual master and thus easily cross over the ocean of material existence best understand their own true welfare. But one's father is the natural object of reverence, as is a religious leader who initiates one into a sacred ceremonies and instructs one in general wisdom. But ultimately, the bona fide spiritual master, learned in transcendental science, and is able to take one across the ocean of birth and death to the spiritual world, such a guru is most deserving of worship and respect, for he is the direct representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated here.
Yes. So those who take advantage of the words, I speak in my form as the spiritual master. So those who take advantage of the Lord's words, coming in parampara through the bona fide spiritual master, then he can cross over the ocean. Taranti agyo bhavanavam. Okay, 34. Nahamijya prajatibhyam tapasopashamena va tusheyam sarvabhutatma guru shushrusaya yatha.
I, the soul of all beings, am not as satisfied by ritual worships, Brahminical initiation, penances, or self-discipline as I am by faithful service rendered to one's spiritual master.
So here the Lord himself is saying, I am not satisfied. Na aham ijja or prajati bhyam tapasa upashamena na tusheham sarvabhutatma guru shushrusaya yatha. So the Lord is most pleased when one renders service to one's spiritual master. The word prajati here indicates either begetting good children or the second birth obtained by ritual initiation into Vedic culture. Although both of these are praiseworthy, Lord Krishna here states that faithful service rendered to a bona fide spiritual master is still higher. He is making general points here. These are general points for everyone. For everyone's benefit, Krishna is speaking. Because the topic is about Gurukul, serving the Guru. Therefore, Krishna is speaking all these points for everyone's benefit. These are general points. And Srila Prabhupada elaborates on all these points a little further. Prabhupada writes, as I've stated in Bhagavad Gita, human society should be divided into 4 varnas according to quality and action. Similarly, everyone should divide his life into 4 parts. One should utilize the first part of life in becoming a bona fide student, receiving adequate knowledge, and keeping oneself in the vow of brahmacharya, so that one may completely devote his life for the service of the spiritual master without indulging in sense gratification. A brahmachari is meant to lead a life of austerities and penance. The householder is meant to live a regulated life of sense gratification, but no one should remain a householder for the third stage of life. In that stage, one has to return to the austerities and penances formerly practiced in brahmachari life and thus relieve himself of the attachment to household life. After being relieved of his attachments to the materialistic way of life, one may accept the order of sannyas. As the supersoul of the living entities, I sit in everyone's heart and observe everyone's activity in every stage and order of life. Regardless of which stage one is in, when I see that one is engaged seriously and sincerely in discharging the duties ordered by the spiritual master and is thus dedicating his life to the service of the spiritual master, that person becomes most dear to me. So this point is what Prabhupada is a little bit elaborating a little more. When I see that one is engaged, these two words Prabhupada has used so many places. Which words? Seriously and sincerely. And discharging the duties ordered by spiritual master, dedicating his life to the service of the spiritual master, that person becomes most dear to me. As far as the life of brahmachari is concerned, if one can continue the life of brahmachari under the direction of a spiritual master, that is extremely good. Prabhupada says this in his lectures also. If one can continue, that is extremely good. But if in a brahmachari life one feels sex impulses, he should take leave of his spiritual master, satisfying him according to the Guru's desire. According to the Vedic system, a gift is offered to the spiritual master, which is called Guru Dakshina. Then the disciple should take to householder life and accept a wife according to religious rites. These instructions given by Lord Krishna while talking with his friend, the learned Brahmana, are very good for the guidance of human society. A system of human civilization that does not promote varna and ashram is nothing but a polished animal society. Indulgence in sex life by a man or woman living single is never acceptable in human society. What to speak these days, there are, yes, co-living. A man should strictly follow the principles of brahmachari life, or with the permission of the spiritual master should get married. Single life with illicit sex is animal life, for the animals have no such institution as marriage. Modern society does not aim at fulfilling the mission of human life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. To fulfill this mission, the system of varna and ashram must be followed. When the system is followed rigidly and consciously, it fulfills this mission. But when followed indirectly without the guidance of superior authority, it simply creates a disturbing condition in human society, and there is no peace and prosperity. So this is how Srila Prabhupada elaborates in his Krishna book on the points made in the Bhagavatam. So very important points Srila Prabhupada makes for everyone's benefit. So when one seriously and sincerely wants to please the spiritual master, then the Lord is very pleased and the Lord reciprocates with that sincere desire. So in this context, we would like to tell one nice pastime. So this is told by Rameshwar Prabhu. So everyone knows the CC marathon, correct? 2 months. So one point in that context, which was very striking, this you will not find in the books, but when he speaks the pastime, he tells. So he says that when Srila Prabhupada said, that morning walk, they were going on the morning walk, and Prabhupada is saying, so at what rate are you printing books now? And Rameshwar Prabhu says, previously we were printing 2 books in 1 month. Now we are printing 1 book in 1 month. So this is after previously the ISKCON Press. Previously it was not called BBT. It was called ISKCON Press. That was at Boston. And then when they shifted to Los Angeles, then the BBT was set up in Los Angeles. So after the shifting took place, so he says now our speed has increased, 1 book in 1 month. And so Srila Prabhupada began calculating. One book in 1 month means 17 months. Very slow. And then Srila Prabhupada says, I want all 17 volumes in 2 months. And Rameshwar Prabhu, what did I hear? Did I hear correct or something? What? 17 books in 2 months. Impossible. And Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary. And when they heard that, Rameshwar Prabhu and his assistant, Radhavalla Prabhu, they remained stunned and they stood there. And actually, Srila Prabhupada went ahead on his morning walk. These two devotees stood there. They could not go. But he makes an interesting point. He says that at that time, he began to think, this is not impossible. So he thought a very amazing point. He thought, if I say something is impossible, that means I am saying something is impossible for the Supreme Lord. If I say something is impossible, that means what? Something is impossible for the Supreme Lord. But what is impossible for the Supreme Lord? What can be impossible for the Supreme Lord? Nothing can be impossible. Supreme Lord can do everything. So when he got this consciousness, why am I limiting the Supreme Lord's ability? I am simply instrument of the Supreme Lord. When he got this consciousness, he describes that immediately his intelligence became flooded with so many ideas to make this apparently impossible task possible. And then we know the rest of the story. But then, because they had such a sincere desire to please Srila Prabhupada, how the Lord reciprocated. So one is with the CC marathon and another is with another similar instant. We'll tell two pastimes. So now, as the CC marathon was going on, day and night, the entire Los Angeles temple cooperated with the efforts of these BBT devotees to bring out these books in 2 months. And so the temple president arranged all the services in such a way. So whatever was required for these BBT devotees, their laundry, prasadam, everything was coming to the BBT. So they could totally focus on their service. So now, so they were literally doing their work there, sleeping there, eating there, everything there only. So now, one painter, so they had so many paintings to do. I forget the exact number, but I think so something like more than 60 paintings Srila Prabhupada wanted in the CC. So each painting takes a good amount of time. So now there were 3 or 4 painters who were doing this service full-time, painting. So now, when one painter would be doing a painting, and suppose he would feel sleepy and he would sleep there, then Rameshwar Prabhu was coordinating the whole thing so that the painting could be completed fast. If some other painter was awake, then he would tell that painter to complete this painting. And this was actually very intolerable to the painters. Because they also have that sense of ownership. No? This is my painting. And in fact, on many paintings, they sign their name also. Yes. So they have that sense of ownership, and so they don't like this. But in any case, for the sake of service, they cooperated. But he describes one particular incident when he did like that. One painter, he finished halfway, then he had another painter. So you may have seen on many paintings, one of the very famous ISKCON painters is Pushkar Prabhu. You may have seen his name. He's still there. So this Pushkar Prabhu, he was doing one painting, and then he did it halfway and Rameshwar Prabhu had another pair. This happened at night. So this Pushkar Prabhu got up in the morning and he saw, Arey, painting is complete. He was not happy to see that. Rather, he was very angry. He was very angry. And so that morning, as soon as Rameshwar Prabhu, Radha Vallabh Prabhu, they came to their office, so Pushkar Prabhu decided to see them. And Rameshwar Prabhu is describing the scene. He says they're sitting in the office and they're seeing this Pushkar Prabhu coming, and his eyes are totally red like Lord Narasimhadev. And these two devotees knew now what is going to happen. And they were mentally getting prepared to face the blow. So he was coming in full form to smash these devotees. And so he says he was very well built also. So, Rameshwar Prabhu is not so well built, he's a small person only. So, so they were getting prepared and they were thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And so he comes charging into the office and the fist was like this. But as soon as he comes close to where Rameshwar Prabhu was sitting, instead of the face, the hands go to the feet. He falls flat in front of Rameshwar Prabhu, full dandavats. And Rameshwar Prabhu was surprised, what's happening? I thought something else would happen, something else is happening. And Pushkar Prabhu gets up and stands, and Rameshwar Prabhu also stands, and they both embrace each other and they start crying. Because they understood that they are here only for one purpose, and that is to please Srila Prabhupada. So Rameshwar Prabhu says, this transformation that took place within a few seconds was the role of the Paramatma. The Paramatma did that transformation. Why? Because of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Because they were doing service for Srila Prabhupada, so therefore the Paramatma interfered and changed the consciousness of Pushkar Prabhu. And instead of the blow, immediately offered obeisances. That is what happened. And like that, that entire 2 months marathon, CC marathon, is filled with many miracles that took place. Many miracles. All because the devotees, because Srila Prabhupada wanted to please Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanted to please Krishna, and the devotees wanted to please Srila Prabhupada. They were all in that consciousness to please. And because they were in that consciousness, as the Lord himself is telling here, that when the disciple is always thinking how to please the spiritual master, then the Lord is very pleased. And that's how the Lord helps. Okay, one more pastime. In 1976, after the Gaur Purnima festival at Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada was there. So Rameshwar Prabhu, so after the Gaur Purnima festival, Srila Prabhupada was discussing with Rameshwar Prabhu. And and these BBT devotees, how to increase book distribution and all that. So at that time, Rameshwar Prabhu expresses a desire to print 1 million Bhagavad Gitas in one printing. 1 million Bhagavad Gitas for distribution. So there's a huge number, 1 million Bhagavad Gitas in one printing. So Srila Prabhupada says, okay, fine, you can do it. But that was Rameshwar Prabhu's very sincere desire. There's no idea from where the money is going to come, how it's going to happen, no idea. But that sincere desire was there to please Srila Prabhupada. So this is at Los Angeles. So, so every Sunday, after the Sunday feast, the devotees would, so new guests would come for the Sunday feast, and each devotee would sit with one of the guests as they would be taking prasadam and preach to them. That would be how they would preach to the new people, right? So mostly that's how devotees preach, right? So when Rameshwar Prabhu saw one young, nice, gentlemanly person taking prasadam, so Rameshwar Prabhu thought, okay, let me speak to this person. So he sat beside him as he was taking prasad. He was talking, preaching Krishna consciousness. So after he finished his prasadam, so the man said, so he was happy with Rameshwar Prabhu's preaching and all that. So he said, can I offer you some gift? Okay, fine, if you want to offer. So the man went to his car and he got a briefcase. And said, okay, fine. So he gave the briefcase to Rameshwar. So Rameshwar Prabhu took the briefcase home to his room. And then this is at night, 9:30. And he's just about to sleep. He thinks, okay, let me just see what is there in that briefcase. Is it just empty briefcase is given, or is given some gift or something? Let me just see. So he opens the briefcase. And when he opens that briefcase, it is filled to the brim with bundles of $100 notes, all stacked up, filled. So when Rameshwar Prabhu sees this, he immediately calls his right-hand person who was assisting him in the BBT. He calls him and says, you have to immediately come to my room. So that devotee says, for what? It's late now. Why now? He says, no, you have to come. So anyway, that devotee comes and Rameshwar Prabhu shows him this huge amount of money. And so they plan that the next day, even before the bank opens, they will wait at the bank. And as soon as they open the bank, they will give this cash for counting, and immediately they will wire it. That means online. They will transfer it to the printers to print those 1 million Bhagavad Gitas. And so the next day they were standing in line. As soon as the bank opens, they go to the bank manager. They show this huge amount of money. And they were stunned. Never had they seen such a huge amount of cash. And so he says they had 30 counting machines to count those notes. And there were all these employees of the bank simply counting those notes. These devotees didn't know how much that amount was. And when they finished counting, can you guess how much that amount was? No. What was the amount?
$10 million.
Huh?
$1 million?
$10 million.
Any other guess? Third guess. $250,000. Just imagine, this is which year? 1976. 1976, 250,000 US dollars. Huh? So huge amounts. So in those days, it was really huge amount. So anyways, they immediately transferred the whole amount to the printers, and they somehow convinced them that they have to postpone all their other printing work and just focus on the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, all this work Paramatma is doing. Now that's not the end of the story. Now the next day, two Mercedes cars came in front of Rameshwar Prabhu's room. And out of those two Mercedes cars, four men in each car came out. So it was apparent that one man looked like, like a leader, way he was dressed and everything. And two appeared to be like his assistants, and the remaining all were very well-built security guards. So they came looking for Rameshwar Prabhu, and they came to his office and they asked him, so you are Rameshwar? Yes. So when Rameshwar Prabhu saw the scene, all these very hefty, well-built people, they knew something fishy is going on, something wrong is happening here. So in any case, he was prepared to face it. And so they sat down, and the man who appeared to be the leader, he began to speak. And he said, did someone come yesterday and give you a huge amount of cash? So Rameshwar Prabhu said, yes. So the man said, see, that money was illegally taken from our company by one of our employees. So do you have the money? So Rameshwar Prabhu says they came fully prepared to, at any cost, get the money back. So therefore they came with all those security guards and everything. They were ready to smash this Rameshwar Prabhu and get the money back. They came with that purpose. So Rameshwar Prabhu said, we don't have the money. So the man said, what nonsense you're talking? How could you have ever spent that much amount of money in one day? This is unheard of, impossible. So he could not believe it. He said, you have to give the money back. Rameshwar Prabhu said, but it's a fact that we don't have the money. So the man asked, then what did you do with the money? So then Rameshwar Prabhu told, so then Rameshwar Prabhu now Rameshwar Prabhu took his turn to preach to him something about the Bhagavad Gita. So then Rameshwar Prabhu began to tell him about the Bhagavad Gita, what is the Bhagavad Gita and all that. He told him, and then finally he said, so for printing 1 million Bhagavad Gitas, we have transferred all this money to the printers. So when the man heard about this Bhagavad Gita and everything, so Rameshwar Prabhu nicely presented the whole thing as to what is the Bhagavad Gita, why they're distributing Bhagavad Gitas, all that he presented very nicely. And then of course Rameshwar Prabhu says, this is again an intervention of the Paramatma. So somehow Paramatma convinced this person that the money has gone for good purposes. And finally the man, he said, okay, fine. You're using the money for some good purposes. And so all of them quietly left. So, no, this is, you won't find this printed anywhere. This he tells in one talk. So, Rameshwar Prabhu was studying Bhakti Shastri in Mayapur. This time. So when he was there in the class, so we would inspire him to speak some Prabhupada Leela. So that time he told. I have it recorded actually. Video recording is there of this pastime. So of course he says he will write a book also on his, he had so much association with Prabhupada. So anyways, so the point that we are making here is that how when one sincerely wants to serve the spiritual master, how the Lord is pleased, how the Lord gives intelligence, and how the Lord helps the disciple to serve the spiritual master. So we can just imagine the CC marathon. After every volume was printed, they would send it to Srila Prabhupada. Hard copy, they would send to Srila, wherever Srila Prabhupada was, they would send. And Srila Prabhupada would be so pleased to receive that. And he said the last copy, the last volume, that time Srila Prabhupada was in India. And they sent one devotee from America to India to give that copy of this Chaitanya Charitamrita to Srila Prabhupada. And when the last volume was printed, then Rameshwar Prabhu he calls Srila Prabhupada and says, now finally, the last volume has been printed. 2 months. But then by doing that service, as we are discussing these points here, by doing that service for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, such an intense service, day and night, he says, they were experiencing such transcendental pleasure. The point comes here also, right? Here also that point comes. That by serving in the where is that? Yes, in the 31st verse. When a twice born student has learned from his guru all that is to be learned, he can enjoy spiritual life. So when they were doing this service for Srila Prabhupada, they were experiencing such pleasure, transcendental pleasure, even though it was very austere, that after the marathon got over, they told Srila Prabhupada, let this marathon never end. Let this marathon continue. Because they were experiencing such higher taste. That is what happens. Acha. Aha. Acha. So But then what a marathon that was. This is unheard of. Such services are unheard of in the history of Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Never in the past, and it'll never happen in the future also. This is special empowerment by Srila Prabhupada. That was Srila Prabhupada's desire, and these devotees fully surrendered to Srila Prabhupada's desire, and they made it happen. Otherwise, literally it was impossible. But they made the impossible possible. That was only by grace. And these devotees surrendered to Srila Prabhupada's desire. So, this is the special potency one receives when one surrenders to the will of the spiritual master. That is what the Lord himself is explaining in these verses. And the reason why we described all this is because this is the essence of this pastime. This pastime that Krishna himself is describing now, the essence of that pastime is this, that how even Krishna agrees to serve his spiritual master. And then at the end of that, the spiritual master blesses them. Correct? That is what happens at the end of this pastime. So if you want the blessings of the spiritual master, then one has to go through that sacrifice. That is the moral of the story that Krishna himself is about to tell now.
Just wanted to know, Mr. Rameshwar Prabhu wanted to print 10 lakh Bhagavad Gitas in one printing, right? So then if they got $250,000, so how they printed with that amount?
So anyway, I don't know all those details.
Because that is quite less for printing.
I don't know. But anyways, as far as what he says is that amount was sufficient, and in fact, it was even more for the printing.
For 1 million Bhagavad Gita?
Yes. This is that time, no? 1976.
Less than $1.
Okay, anyway, those details are not important. Understand the essence of the past. Okay. Okay, next, 35-36. Api na smaryate brahman vrittam nivasatam gurau guru dares choditanam indhananayane kvachit pravishthana maharanyam apartau sumahadvija vatavarsham abhuttivram nishturastana. Read.
Oh Brahmana, do you remember what happened to us while we were living with our spiritual master? Once our Guru's wife sent us to fetch firewood, and after we entered the vast forest, O twice born one, an unseasonal storm arose with fierce wind and rain and harsh thunder. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this storm arose during winter and was therefore unseasonal.
Okay, so it was in winter. Sometimes in winter time there are storms. Okay, 37.
Then at the sunset, the forest was covered by darkness in every direction, and with all the floodings, we could not distinguish high land from low.
Continue.
Constantly besieged by the powerful wind and the rain, we lost our way amidst the flooding waters. We simply held each other's hand and in great distress wandered aimlessly about the forest. O Guru, our Guru.
Purport.
Yeah, sorry. 1 minute. Purport. Srila Siddha Swami points out that the verb brima may be understood to be the prefix pari with either the word bri or brahm. In the case of brahm, it indicates that Krishna and Sudama wandered all about, and in the case of bri, which means to carry, it indicates that as the two young boys wandered about, they continued to carry the firewood they had secured for their spiritual master.
Yes, so they were carrying the wood and they lost their way. They're wandering around in great distress. Continue.
Our Guru Sandipni, understanding our predicament, set out after sunrise to search for us, his disciples, and found us in distress.
Okay, so the next morning, Sandipani Muni is searching for his disciples. Now we'll recite these verses. 40. Aho he putrakayuyam asmad arteti dukkitaha atma vai praninam preshtas tam anadritya matparaha.
Sandipani said, O my children, you have suffered so much for my sake. The body is most dear to every living creature. But you are so dedicated to me that you completely disregarded your own comfort.
41. Etadeva hi satshishye kartavyam guru nishkritam yad vai vishuddha bhavena sarvarthatmarpanam guru.
This indeed is the duty of all true disciples, to repay the debt to their spiritual master by offering him with pure hearts their wealth and even their very lives. Purport. One engages one's body to realize one's purposes. The body is also the basis of the material conception of I, while one's fortune is the basis of the conception of mind. Thus, by offering everything to the spiritual master, one realizes oneself to be an eternal servant of the Lord. The spiritual master does not exploit the disciple, but rather engages him fully in Krishna consciousness for the disciple's eternal benefit.
Right. So Sandipani Muni is telling about the duties of disciples to repay the debts by offering him everything. Everything. Vishuddha bhavena. With pure attitude, completely pure attitude, just for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Sarva artha atma. So both artha as well as atma. Arpanam guru. Okay. So oneself as well as whatever one has, everything should be offered to the Guru. 42. Tushto ham bodvija shrestha satya santu manoratah chandamsi ayatayamani bhavanto iha paratracha.
You boys are first-class Brahmanas, and I am satisfied with you. May all your desires be fulfilled. May the Vedic mantras you have learned never lose their meaning for you in this world or the next.
So this is the blessing he is giving, that they may always remember what they have learned and the meaning.
Cooked food left sitting for 3 hours is called yat yam, indicating that it has lost its taste. And similarly, if a devotee does not remain fixed in Krishna consciousness, the transcendental knowledge that once inspired him on the spiritual path will lose its taste or meaning for him. Thus, Sandipani Muni blesses his disciples that the Vedic mantras which reveal the absolute truth will never lose their meaning for them, but will remain ever fresh in their minds.
So we discussed this point, how things can remain ever fresh. So by the sincere, unalloyed service which the disciple renders to the spiritual master, then everything remains ever fresh. Then one will not lose the taste. Okay, that's Sandipani Muni's. So those 3 verses, Sandipani Muni is appreciating them and blessing them. Now continue, 3 more verses.
Lord Krishna continued, we had many similar experiences while living in our spiritual master's home. Simply by the grace of the spiritual master, a person can fulfill life's purpose and attain eternal peace.
44.
The Brahmana said, what could I possibly have failed to achieve? O Lord of Lords, O universal teacher, since I was able to personally live with you, whose every desire is fulfilled at the home of our spiritual master. Purport. Sudama Brahmana wisely understands his extraordinarily good fortune of having lived with Sri Krishna at the residence of their spiritual master. Thus, whatever external difficulties they experienced were actually an expression of the Lord's mercy to teach the importance of service to the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada renders the learned Brahmana's feeling as follows. Sudama said, my dear Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Spiritual Master of everyone. And since I was fortunate enough to live with you in the house of our Guru, I think I have nothing more to do in the matter of prescribed Vedic duties.
So in Vishnu Thakur on the verse he says, what lack of bliss was there for us? It was completely blissful for us who lived in the Gurukul with you, who act with your own desires, satya kamena. Your living in the Gurukul was by your wish alone. The difficulties of wind and rain encountered while fetching wood for teaching devotion to Guru was by your wish alone. Other than that, what power does the wind and rain have over you? The Vedas say the wind blows out of fear of you. That we were with you there is the result of great fortune. So Sudama is thinking himself blessed that he had association of Krishna in the Gurukul. And so ultimately all the difficulties were also orchestrated by Krishna. Okay, and the last verse. Yasya chando mayam brahma deha avapanam vibho shreyasam tasya gurushu vasotyanta vidambanam.
O Almighty Lord, your body comprises the absolute truth in the form of the Vedas and is thus the source of all auspicious goals of life. That you took up residence at the school of a spiritual master is simply one of your pastimes in which you play the role of a human being.
Vidambanam. Thus in the purports.
Yes.
Of the humble servants of His divine grace,
Swami Srila
A.C. Bhaktivedanta
Prabhupada,
Swami Prabhupada.
10th canto.
To the 10th canto, 80th chapter, Srimad
chapter of
Bhagavatam, and
Srimad
then of the
Bhagavatam.
Brahmana Sudama visits Lord Krishna Dwarka. So, just to see what Prabhupada has written in Krishna book. So, Prabhupada writes here, so what Sandipani Muni is saying, with great compassion, our Gurudev said, my dear boys, it is very wonderful that you have suffered so much trouble for me. Everyone likes to take care of his body as the first consideration, but you are so good and faithful to your Guru that without caring for bodily comforts, you have taken so much trouble for me. I am glad to see that bona fide students like you will undergo any kind of trouble for the satisfaction of the spiritual master. That is the way for a bona fide disciple to become free from his debt to the spiritual master. It is the duty of the disciple to dedicate his life to the service of the spiritual master. My dear best of the twice born, I am greatly pleased by your acts and I bless you. What is the blessing? May all your desires and ambitions be fulfilled. May the understanding of the Vedas, which you have learned from me, always continue to remain within your memory, so that every moment you can remember the teachings of the Vedas and quote their instructions without difficulty. Thus, you will never be disappointed in this life or the next. So, this is a great blessing, right? So, this is not just some theoretical knowledge or information, but this is what? The understanding of the Vedas. So, when we are put in the situation, then what happens many times? We tend to forget. So we may, till that point of time, we may have read that philosophy so many times, spoken it so many times, but when that situation actually comes, we tend to forget. And so therefore, this is a great blessing that at all times, that understanding of the scriptures will be there. That means one will always be able to live by the scriptures. That is the great blessing. So Krishna continued, my dear friend, you may remember that many such instances occurred while in the ashram of spiritual master. Okay. Okay, fine. So we'll take a break and then continue with the next chapter. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chapter 81. The Lord blesses Sudama Brahman. Okay. Text 1 and 2. Shri Shuka Uvacha Saitam Dvijamukyena Saha Sankhatayan Hari Sarvabhuta Manobhignya Smayamana Uvachatam Brahmanyo Brahmanam Krishno Bhagavan Prahasan Priyam Premna Nirikshaneneva Prekshan Khalu Sadam Gati. Okay, somebody wants to read online? Hare Krishna online, somebody is awake? Okay, fine. Chalo.
Sukadeva Goswami said, Lord Hari Krishna perfectly knows the hearts of all living beings, and he is especially devoted to the Brahmanas. While the Supreme Lord, the goal of all saintly persons, conversed in this way with the best of the thrice born, he laughed and spoke the following words to that dear friend of his, the Brahmana Sudama, all the while smiling and looking upon him with affection. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, Srila Sridhar Swami, the word Sarva Bhuta Mano Vigya indicate that since Lord Krishna knows the minds of everyone, he could tell at once that his friend Sudama had brought some flat rice for him and was ashamed to present it. According to Srila Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur, further explanation of this verse, Lord Krishna smiled at this moment, thinking, yes, I am going to make you show what you brought for me. His smile then turned to laughter as he thought, how long are you going to keep this precious gift hidden in your cloth? Krishna glanced towards the bundle hidden inside his friend's garment, telling Sudama by his loving glance, the veins showing through your emaciated skin and your ragged clothes astonish everyone present. But these symptoms of poverty will last only until tomorrow morning. Although Lord Krishna is Bhagwan, the supreme, independent Lord, he is always pleased to reciprocate with those who are Priya, his cherished servants. As the indulgent patron of the Brahmana class, he especially enjoys favoring Brahmanas who are additionally qualified by unconditional devotion to him.
Yes. So basically most of the points have been covered. So Vishnu Chakravarti also basically says the same thing. Knowing the mind of all living entities and therefore knowing his mind, Sarva Bhuta Manogya. He could understand that Sudama had brought some chipped rice, but was embarrassed to give it. By smiling, he indicated that he would make him reveal his gift. Sudama is described as Brahmana, qualified by being devoted to Brahman, Krishna. Therefore, Krishna was affectionate towards him, Brahmanya. Sudama was dear to the Lord, thus being worshipable by the Lord himself, Priyam. The Lord was laughing because Sudama was keeping the object which he had brought and was desired by the Lord hidden in his cloth at his waist. He noticed it there. Looking at Sudama, he implied, you will hide this gift from me? His laugh indicated his boldness of his decision. Out of great affection, Premna, he, the cause of things happening everywhere, Satam Gati, thought, your emaciated state and your ragged cloth will be a cause of dismay amongst the inhabitants of Dwarka up until 2 praharas of tomorrow and not beyond that. So the Lord knows everything. He knows what Sudama has brought, how he brought, everything he knows. Therefore, he is smiling, laughing. How long you're going to keep this hidden? Okay, you can pass the mic. Okay, now the Lord speaks. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kim Upayanam Anitam Brahman Me Bhavata Grihat Anvapya Uparitam Bhaktai Premna Bhuri Eva Me Bhavet Bhuryapya Abhakto Paritam Na Me Toshaya Kalpate.
The Supreme Lord said, O Brahmana,
what gift have you brought me from home? I regard as great even the smallest gift offered by my devotee in pure love. But even great offerings presented by non-devotees do not please me.
So who's the good example for this? Duryodhana, Vidura. So therefore, Shukdev Goswami is quoting verse from Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushvam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha.
If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, and a fruit or water, I will accept it. Purport. These famous words are also spoken by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 9.26. The translation and word meanings here are taken from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. In the context of the current episode of Sudama's visit to Dwaraka, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti has kindly continued his explanation of Lord Krishna's statements. This verse is a reply to Sudama's anxiety that his bringing such an unfit offering was ill-considered. The use of the words Bhaktya Prayachati, Bhakti Uparatanam may seem redundant since they both mean offered with devotion, but Bhaktya can indicate how the Lord reciprocates the devotional mood of whoever offers him something with love. In other words, Lord Krishna here declares that his reciprocation in a pure loving exchange is not dependent on the external quality of what is offered. Krishna says, something may or may not be impressive and pleasing in its own right, but when my devotee offers it to me in devotion with the expectation that I will enjoy it, it gives me great pleasure. In this regard, I make no discrimination. The verb asnami, I eat, implies that Lord Krishna eats even a flower which is supposed to be smelled, bewildered as he is by the ecstatic love he feels for his devotee. Someone might then question the Lord, so will you refuse an offering made to you by a devotee of some other deity? The Lord answers, yes, I'll refuse to eat it. This the Lord states by the phrase Prayatatmanaha, implying only by devotional service to me can one become pure in heart.
Of course, we have, I'm sure you have discussed this verse many times from Bhagavad Gita. And so, bolo?
The word bhakti is repeating 2 times in that. Bhakti is important. Lord doesn't accept the external thing, but the mood of a devotee.
Bolo. देखो भाई कितने बार आपने लेक्चर दिया होगा ना बस के How is that a justification? Okay. So therefore it is always worth revising. Okay. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti says, in this verse, Bhakti Uparitam means offered with devotion. Okay? Offered with devotion rather than cause. Repeating the word from the previous phrase, Bhaktya Prayachati. So Bhakti Uparitam means what? Offered with devotion. It applies to whom? The devotee who is offering. Bhakti Uparitam, offered with devotion, means the devotee, he has devotion. And Bhaktya Prayachati means I accept that which is offered with devotion. So Bhaktya Prayachati refers to the Lord. And Bhakti Uparitam refers to the devotee who is offering. So the devotee has to offer with devotion, And Krishna says, I accept only that which is offered with devotion. That is another point. That is another point. But basically, that is the so. Correct. So one bhakti is for the devotee, and one bhakti is for the Lord. So the Lord accepts only that which is offered with devotion, and the devotee has to offer with devotion. So that is why those, of course, in the ultimate sense, both mean the same, but the context of the usage of the words is different.
Is there a consciousness is involved? What consciousness you are offering? Is it like that?
So just hold on, we'll come to that discussion. Because this is the crux of the matter. So here he says, I accept that which is offered with devotion, whatever my devotee offers with devotion, not offered by any obligation to others. So he offers with devotion, not offered by any obligation, means he is not obligated, forced. He loves to serve, therefore he is doing the service. That is the meaning of bhakti. Something may be tasty or not tasty, but that which is given by my devotee with devotion, thinking it is tasty, becomes very tasty to me. That is the example of Vidura, right? Vidura's wife is offering banana peels, which are not tasty, but they became tasty. They became tasty. Why? Yes, because of the devotion. But that which is given by my devotee with devotion, thinking it is tasty, becomes very tasty to me without me thinking twice about it. Bewildered by the prema of my devotee, I also eat the flower, which, though acceptable, is not edible. Do I not eat that which is offered with devotion by persons who are devotees to the Devatas, since I have said I accept what my devotee offers? True, I do not eat it. I eat that from my devotee who has a pure heart and no one else. Prayatatmanaha. See the word-to-word meaning of prayatatmana?
One is pure.
No. Proper translation of one who is pure in consciousness. Pure in consciousness. And commenting on this, Vishwanath Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, both of them explain, therefore the Lord accepts from one who is pure in heart, from a devotee who is pure in heart. And so this refers to both external purity as well as internal purity. So external purity we understand. So in deity worship, when we offer something, externally also purity is required. The pujari has to take bath and all that. So the external purity is definitely important. But along with that, the internal purity is also important. The Lord is pleased to accept the offering when there is internal purity also. And so therefore, there he says, the Lord does not accept offerings from a non-devotee because there is no purity of that. He does not accept. And that is why we have the famous pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami. Right? So Raghunath Das Goswami, initially his father sends money, and with that money he was buying Jagannath Prasad and inviting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the sannyasis. He did this for 2 years and then he stopped. And then Mahaprabhu asked Swarup Damodar Goswami, why has he stopped? And Swarup Damodar Goswami was so sharp, he could read the mind of Raghunath Das Goswami. So he says, Raghunath Das Goswami has thought that I have taken this money from my materialistic father and uncle. And so with this materialistic money, I'm inviting Mahaprabhu and sannyasi is not good. And when Mahaprabhu hears this, he's very happy. And then he recites those famous verses. What? Yes. Vishera anna khaila, malina hoiman, malina man nahi krishnera smara. So therefore, the purity of the consciousness is also very important for the offering to be accepted by Krishna. So all these points, actually, recently for the previous batch, we were discussing 5th canto, 1st chapter. So all these points are also spoken by the sages who were performing the sacrifice for Maharaj Nabi. If you remember, in the 5th canto, Maharaj Nabi is performing the sacrifice along with his priests to get a son. And so those priests, when the Lord appears, then the priests are offering a series of prayers, and they also make all these points. All these points they also make. And in those verses, Srila Prabhupada writes, in one of those purports, Srila Prabhupada writes, one can make a huge, gorgeous temple for the Lord, but the Lord does not require a temple because he has thousands of palaces. What is the use of your one temple? He does not require. So he is not attracted by the external form of the service. That is insignificant for him. That is also told by Prahlad Maharaj, right? 7th canto, 9th chapter, verse number 11. What is that? Nijalabh Purna. Naivatmana Prabhurayam Nijalabh Purna. Yes, so the Lord does not require. He is Nijalabha Purna, he is self-satisfied. What he requires, he does not. Even if he requires, he has already so many things to give him. So he does not require. But still he accepts the offering from those who are avidusha, those who are less intelligent, foolish people. Why does he accept? Karuno vrinite. Only because of karuna he accepts. And so when the service is done to the Lord, who gets the benefit? Yes, the person who offers gets the benefit. And then he gives the analogy of, what is the analogy in that verse? What is the last line? What is the last line of the verse? Mukashri. Mukha. Kya hai? So when the face is decorated, the reflection of the face in the mirror is automatically decorated. So when the Lord is pleased, then the person who's making the offering, he gets the benefit. So therefore, the important point is, when there is purity of the consciousness, the Lord is pleased to accept the offering. When there is devotion, the Lord is pleased to accept the offering. Otherwise, the Lord does not require the offering, the Lord does not require service, he does not require anything. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevi. Yes. So therefore, it is very important that we have to focus on this purity of the consciousness. And that is why Srila Prabhupada has introduced this morning program before rendering any service. So that if we chant 16 rounds, attend Bhagavatam class, and there's some purification that takes place, then with the purified consciousness, when one renders some service after that, then Lord will be pleased to accept that offering. And therefore, even for pujaris who have deity services early in the morning, it's always recommended that they should chant as much as possible. If they can chant 16 rounds, very good, but at least as much as possible before the service, because then the Lord is pleased to accept the offering because of the purity of consciousness. That is what is important. And so therefore that word prayatatmana there indicates purity in consciousness. Many times that last word in that verse is missed and one does not focus on that. But that is very important, purity of consciousness. That is what the Lord is pleased to accept. And that's the point which he's saying here also. You were saying something.
So one bhaktya means you are saying devotion, other is saying purity of consciousness.
No. See, devotion is related to purity of consciousness.
Okay,
correct,
so both.
But as we said, one bhakti uparitam means offered with devotion. Who offers? The devotee offers. And bhaktya prayachati means the Lord accepts. The Lord accepts when offered with devotion. So one is referring to the Lord, one is referring to the devotee.
So just about this Lord, this Raghunath Das Goswami example. So here, the generally in our sampradaya, whatever food is cooked by outsiders, we don't take. But whatever money comes or whatever ingredients are given by outsider, we cook it, offer it to the Lord, and then we take. And it generally happens even for everyone outside also. So then why Raghunath Das Goswami is not taking that?
So that was the high level of consciousness of Raghunath Das Goswami.
That is high level. So but we are following intermediate level like that.
No, we are also falling high level. Why you're reducing our?
Yeah, but how many of us really see where the ingredients coming from? Because the shopkeeper from where we are purchasing. means
So the
many
point
things.
is, so Raghunath Das Goswami had the choice. What choice do we have?
So that's why we come to intermediate level.
No, we are not coming to intermediate level. We are simply practicing pure devotional service because we are not offering directly. We are offering through parampara. We are offering through parampara. They will purify it and then offer.
Anybody can offer, Guruji.
Huh?
Anybody can offer.
No, but Krishna doesn't accept from anybody. That's what we are.
That's why I'm saying any devotee, even neophyte also can offer. Correct, na?
So neophyte can offer, that is true. But what we are see, therefore, the verse has to be seen in entirety. Yes, anyone can offer, but then the Lord is pleased to accept that offering when the person is pure in consciousness. You see the verse in the entirety, no? So yes, okay, any devotee can offer, agreed. But there is a condition there. There is a condition there. So when the devotee is pure in consciousness, then the Lord will be more pleased to accept the offering. Correct. He's attentively chanting the holy names, attentively hearing Bhagavatam. He is nicely following the instructions of spiritual master. He's leading a pure life. Yes, sincere. More the sincerity, Lord will be pleased to accept the offering. Then when the Lord is pleased, then who gets the benefit? The devotee gets the benefit because more mercy flows. When the Lord is pleased, blessings, mercy automatically come when the Lord is pleased. Therefore, His Holiness Bhakti Bhagat Maharaj would say, even when he would previously have some management meeting, before the meeting, first question he would ask is, has everyone finished? If anybody has not finished, okay, you finished 16, others will chant extra rounds. Because without that purity, then what can we offer? Then Krishna will not give the right intelligence to do management. And then all wrong decisions will be taken. So therefore, yes, the first condition is only devotee will offer. That is the first condition. Needless to say. But even for the devotee, purity in consciousness is important. Right. So as one progresses in bhakti, one must fine-tune one's consciousness and understanding of the scriptures. So a new devotee, we may not speak so many details, right? He may not understand all these things. But then as one progresses, one should have finer and finer understanding of these verses. Others, for new people, we usually use the verse for vegetarianism, correct? That is one level. That's one level of understanding. But actually, this verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam, is telling the essence of bhakti, the essence of our devotional practices. What is the Lord pleased by? He is not pleased by the external offering. The external offering, well, is important as long as it is accompanied by the proper consciousness. So therefore, many times devotees ask, oh, the Ritviks are also so successful. They're building huge temples, this, that. Okay, but does Krishna want? Does Krishna want the external offering? The big temple or the tallest temple or whatever they're saying. Is Krishna going to be impressed by that? If there is no purity of consciousness, if there is no proper attitude, Krishna is least interested in that external, just like Duryodhana. That is not success. The external offering is not a success. The real success is what? Samsiddhi Haritosh. Whether Lord is going to be pleased or not. That is the most important thing. The external thing hardly matters. The external thing matters, just like today morning also Prabhuji was giving the example. Well known. All the externals are like zero. The one has to be there. that is Krishna, the attitude to please Krishna, the consciousness to please Krishna, that has to be there. Then all the zeros will have value. Otherwise, they'll remain zeros. Okay. Yes, bro?
Like you were telling about Maharaj saying that before the management meeting, he would ask devotees. So there are two types I saw that one is who sees management as a necessary evil. Somewhere it like so much hard and management is like something which will trouble. But some devotees see management as a service. So just like now somebody is doing DT service, for him that chanting morning he may do later. So now management also, if it is a service, if one sees, so which is higher? Somebody sees management as a evil, and for that I have to prepare and chanting and then enter the management. Because, and somebody sees it as a service only, as good as chanting only.
Ultimately, whatever a devotee does is service, na? How can, okay, you may say it as evil or whatever, you can say it. But the fact is that Srila Prabhupada has started this ISKCON institution. And when there is institution, there has to be management. You can't avoid it. Correct. Srila Prabhupada himself started GBC and Srila Prabhupada himself was attending GBC meetings. Correct. How much management did Srila Prabhupada do? How much management he did? Day and night he was doing management. So therefore, why he did it? He could have sat in Vrindavan and did his bhajan. No? Why he took so much trouble? As a service. And so because we have this institution now, therefore we can call Prime Minister Modi to come and inaugurate the temple. Only because there is institution, a worldwide institution which is flourishing because of the united efforts of devotees. Therefore we have so much advantage. How much publicity, how much preaching is taking place when the Prime Minister comes to inaugurate, how much preaching is taking place? That is why Srila Prabhupada started. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Why? These are great acharyas. Why they've started institution? Because they know what are the benefits, especially in the presentation. So therefore, the devotee definitely has to see everything as a part of service. It's a service. Difficult or easy, that's another point. But one has to see it as a service. So then when you see it as a service, then the next thing is what? How can I do my service properly so that the Lord accepts? So that is what is being answered here. The more I am pure in consciousness, the Lord will accept the service. So therefore, whether it is management, whether it is deity worship, whether it is preaching, whatever service it is, the Lord will be pleased to accept the service if I do it in proper consciousness. To purify my consciousness, then I will do my sadhana properly.
So by service, purification will also come.
Yes.
Only because now this only by chanting, then you will get nice consciousness, where in management, then you can do management nicely. This is thinking like management is not service, or management will not purify.
The chanting is also service. The management is also service.
Then
both are service.
Prerequisite of chanting for
management. But both are related. By the purification that takes place by direct devotional activities like Shravanam, Kirtanam is much more than the secondary devotional activities.
Management is like indirect.
Yes, those are secondary devotional activities. So, but Shravanam, Kirtanam is direct, these are direct devotional activities. The purification that takes place is much more. And so therefore, these activities are stressed for the direct purification. And so when that purification takes place, one is able to do these other activities like management, temple construction, all these activities, one is able to do in the proper consciousness as a service rather than as a burden. Then one does that service in the proper consciousness, then one does the service properly, that attracts mercy. That attracts mercy of Guru and Krishna. And because of that mercy, one will be able to chant better. So the Mahat Seva attracts mercy. By the mercy, then one will be able to Vasudeva Kataruchi. So both are very much related.
Like Shravan, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevana. It is like in sequence. Shravan, then Kirtan, then Smaran, and then Padasevana is service.
Yes, yes, that's right. So therefore,
Here,
Ah.
Devi Varnashram also comes into picture, right? If some people have a tendency to do some things, and some people may have
Yes,
tendency
that
to
is so
manage
same
properly.
principle. So same principle.
Yeah. So that's a
Everyone.
purification. That
Yes.
itself is purification.
Yes, that's right. So therefore, the goal of Devavarnashram is that the work has to be offered to Vishnu. Vishnu aradhyate panta nanya tatoshakarana. Okay. So, but the important point that we're discussing here is that how the consciousness with which we render the service, that is what is important. And that is what the Lord is pleased. And that is what what is being said over here about Sudama also.
I heard that even purpose of all management in ISKCON is to do Shravan and Kirtanam properly in that way, isn't it? The purpose
Correct.
of that also is this one. Construction or anything in the ISKCON
Ultimately, it's
is
preaching.
centered around
Yes.
Shravanam and
Yes,
Kirtanam.
preaching means Shravanam Kirtanam. Yes, ultimately that is the goal. If Shravanam Kirtanam does not take place, what is the use of the building? The main substance is the Shravanam Kirtanam. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada did say that you preach and everything else will follow. So preaching means, yes. So the preaching means Shravanam Kirtanam. So that is the essence. The essence of the moment. The essence of the moment is Shravanam Kirtanam. That is the main purpose. But everything else is required for that Shravanam Kirtanam to take place. So if one is doing everything else except Shravanam Kirtanam, then the very purpose of everything is lost. Then, as Srila Prabhupada said in that famous lecture in Mayapur, then the Archa Vigraha will become Galagraha. Then the whole thing will become a burden. Yes, it is. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself has said that. What does it mean is that necessary evil is, it's both the words, what do you call it? Oxynomer. Yeah. Right? Oxymoron. It's like that, right? Necessary evil. Yes, both are like opposites. So if it is evil, how it becomes necessary? But why it is an evil? Because it's a headache. I can peacefully say, chant, read Bhagavatam. Sitting in management meetings where all are not pure devotees, surely. So each one is sitting there with so many agendas, misconceptions, conceptions, whatever. And so dealing with all that, different opinions, trying to satisfy, it's a headache, right? It's a headache. Definitely it's a headache. But at the same time, it is necessary. For what is it necessary? For preaching. That is why our acharyas have started. So therefore, then it is a headache, but then it is necessary. And why it is necessary? For the preaching and for pleasing our acharyas. And that is the reason why devotees are ready to go through it only for the sake of pleasing our acharyas. They themselves have taken so much trouble. How much Srila Prabhupada went through? Oh, I can't imagine. At that age, how much devotees are fighting, quarreling, somebody is selling a temple. Wow. Can't imagine. Okay. So fine. So now the Lord is, so in the previous verse we read, so why this Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam verse is coming in between? Why it is coming in between? Yes. Because Sudama is thinking, so in the third verse it is said that, what gift you brought me from home? So then Sudama might think, oh, what? So insignificant, I don't want to give. So therefore, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, as long as the bhakti is there, doesn't matter. That is fourth verse. Fifth verse. So now the Lord is speaking.
Even after being addressed in this way, O king, the Brahmana felt too embarrassed to offer his palmfuls of flat rice to the husband of the goddess of fortune. He simply kept his head bowed in shame. According to Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti, the description here of Krishna as husband of goddess of fortune implies that Sudama questioned himself, how can the Lord of Sri eat this hard, stale rice? By bowing his head, the Brahmana revealed his meditation. My dear master, please do not make me ashamed. Even if you request it from me repeatedly, I will not give this to you. I have made up my mind.
Yes. So Sudama is feeling, no, how can I give? Who is this person? He is Pataye Shriyaha. Pataye Shriya. He's the husband of the goddess of fortune. How can I give this very tucha offering? How can I give? So therefore he's simply bowing his head in shame and say, even if you ask repeatedly, I will not give this. Okay, text 6 and 7. Sarva bhutatma drik sakshat tasya gamana karanam vigyaya chintayannayam shri kamo ma bhajet pura patnya pativratyastu sakha priya chikirshaya prapto mamasya dasyami sampado martya durlabha.
Being the direct witness in the hearts of all living beings, Lord Krishna fully understood why Sudama had come to see him. Thus he thought, in the past my friend has never worshipped me out of a desire for material opulence. But now he comes to me to satisfy his chaste and good devoted wife. I'll give him riches that even the immortal demigods cannot obtain.
Purport.
Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that the Lord momentarily wondered, how has it come about, despite my omniscience, that this devotee of mine has fallen into such poverty? Then, quickly understanding the situation, he spoke to himself the words related in this verse. But someone may point out that Sudama should not have been so poverty stricken, since appropriate enjoyment comes as a byproduct of service to God, even for a devotee who has no ulterior motives. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas-chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesam nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. In response to this point, a distinction must be made between the two kinds of renounced devotees. One kind is inimical to sense gratification, and the other is indifferent to it. The Supreme Lord does not force sense gratification upon the devotees who is extremely averse to worldly enjoyment. This is seen among such great renouncers as Jad Bharat. On the other hand, Lord may give limitless wealth and power to a devotee who is neither repelled nor attracted by material things, such as Prahlad Maharaj. Up to this point in his life, Sudama Brahmana was totally averse to sense gratification. But now, out of compassion for his faithful wife, and also because he hankered to have Krishna's audience, he went to beg from the Lord.
So the Lord understands the motive. So he understands that actually Sudama has not personally come to ask for anything. He has come only because of his wife, only because his wife has requested. And the wife also didn't request for herself. She was requesting for the husband. So it's totally a selfless mentality. And so therefore, the Lord is thinking that I must definitely reciprocate with this selfless love of Sudama. And so here the Acharyas are talking about these two types of renounced devotees. One is totally averse. Averse means I don't want. And the other type is, okay, if you want, you give. If you don't want, you don't give. If you give, I'll use it in the Lord's service. Whatever I have, doesn't matter. So, but Sudama was in the first category. He was averse to sense gratification. He was averse. So therefore the Lord never gave him, because that was his desire. Okay, go ahead. 8th verse.
Thinking like this, the Lord snatched from the Brahmana's garment the grain of flat rice tied up in an old piece of cloth and exclaimed, "What is this?"
Next.
"My friend, have you brought this for me? It gives me extreme pleasure. Indeed, these few grains of flat rice will satisfy not only me, but also the entire universe." Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is understood from this statement that Krishna, being the original source of everything, is the root of the entire creation. As watering the root of a tree immediately distributes water to every part of the tree, so an offering made to Krishna or any action done for Krishna is to be considered the highest welfare work for everyone, because the benefit of such an offering is distributed throughout the creation. Love for Krishna becomes distributed to all living deities.
All right, as Vishnu Thakur says, do not think that this is not suitable for me because it is tasteless. I like this very much. Moreover, do not think it is not enough, for it is completely satisfying to me, the embodiment of the universe. So therefore, if I am satisfied, the entire universe will be satisfied. 10th.
After saying this, the Supreme Lord ate one palmful and was about to eat a second when the devoted goddess Rukmini took hold of his hand. Purport. Queen Rukmini hold of Krishna's hand to prevent him from eating any more of the flat rice. According to Sripad Sridhar Swami, with this gesture she meant to tell the Lord, "This much of your grace is sufficient to assure anyone vast riches, which are merely the play of my glance. But please do not force me to surrender myself to this Brahmana, as will happen if you eat one more handful."
So she was afraid she will have to become Sudama's servant. If the Lord will take one more, she will also have to become Sudama's servant.
Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that by taking hold of the Lord's hand, Rukmini implied, "If you eat all of this wonderful treat your friend brought from his house, what will I have left for my friends, co-wives, servants, and myself? There will be not enough left to distribute everyone,
even one grain.
Even one grain to each of us." And to her maidservants, companions, she said by her gesture, "This hard rice will upset my Lord's tender stomach."
So different reasons are there.
Srila Prabhupada comments that when food is offered to Lord Krishna with love and devotion, and he is pleased and accepts it from the devotee, Rukmini Devi, the goddess of fortune, becomes so greatly obliged to the devotee that she has to personally go to the devotee's home to turn it into the most opulent home in the world. If one feeds Narayan sumptuously, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, automatically becomes a guest in one's house, which means that one's home becomes opulent.
Therefore, the main principle is what? To please the Supreme Lord. If the Supreme Lord is pleased, then Lakshmi will automatically follow. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has written that beautiful statement in the first canto, first chapter. I don't remember the exact verse number, but Srila Prabhupada has written, material well-being follows spiritual well-being. Very important. Material well-being follows spiritual well-being. So our focus has to be the spiritual well-being. How to please Krishna? Then the material well-being will automatically follow. Of course, the best example again is Srila Prabhupada himself. And just we heard this story, Rameshwar Prabhu, how all the money came. And of course, Srila Prabhupada himself says, I went with 40 rupees, came back with 40 crores. Who's better businessman? Prabhupada himself said that. And now, of course, Srila Prabhupada is how much property? Each temple is 170 crores. So, how much Krishna is given? Why? Because Srila Prabhupada had only one goal, and that is to please Krishna. And because he had that one goal, then Lakshmi automatically. Bhavanand Prabhu tells, Janavas Prabhu tells this pastime about Bhavanand Prabhu, that in Mayapur, when Srila Prabhupada was talking about his big plans, so at that time, Bhavanand Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, you have all these big plans to build this huge TOVP. From where would the money come? And Srila Prabhupada said, you have Madhav here. Madhav means husband of the goddess of fortune. What is your problem? Or Srila Prabhupada will often, where is the difficulty? So that has to be our faith. Our main focus has to be how to please Krishna, how to please the acharyas. That has to be the main focus. Other things will automatically follow. And you have read this pastime or heard this pastime about which Shamsundar Prabhu tells. Yes. So what is difficult for the Lord? Money can come through somebody's suitcase, or it can come from the sky, or as in the case of George Harrison, $19,000, one power cut for a few seconds and the Lord inspired him. Finished. What can the Lord not do if he wants something to happen? Very easy. Of course, desire and do something also. Not... Yes, that is true. Yes, first desire and then try to please the Lord. That is the most important.
In his Bhakti Shastri lecture, and that letter talks about to all temple presidents. Dadati Pratigrunnati, that verse is explaining in Vrindavan. So he quotes that letter where Prabhupada is having that faith that Lakshmi will come. So there he writes to all temple presidents. The must word comes at least 4 or 5 times. And he says that all visitors should get prasadam. And he tells the menu also, actually. Puri, sabji, and hot. And then as it goes nicely, 20 people batch should be made. And as you progress, you should add halwa and pakoda in it. And he says that we are servants of Lakshmipati. So where is a doubt? So actually, but it's easier said than done. That much depth, that much purity of faith, what Prabhupada has means it's quite, that letter is written long back. So Maharaj is saying that actually it has not been happening. So all of you, Bhakti Shastri class it is. So it's easier said than done. To have that faith, then all other management things come, right? So to have that faith, to carry that faith, it's very difficult.
Right. So therefore then according to one's capacity.
Yes, but here it's happening something. So all glories to FFL devotees who are doing that. Nice. They are going close to the Prabhupada's desire actually.
Right. Very soon.
Lunch and dinner they are giving. The breakfast.
Very soon it will come, don't worry. Okay, 11th verse.
Queen Rukmini said, "This is more than enough, O soul of universe, to secure him an abundance of all kinds of wealth in this world and the next. After all, one's prosperity depends simply on your satisfaction."
Yes, one's prosperity depends simply on your satisfaction. Pumsas tvatto shakaranam. So he's saying this much is enough. He will get abundant wealth. You have just taken one palmful, he will get enough wealth. Don't have to eat more. So Vishwanath Chakravarti commenting on the verse, he says, she spoke mentally making her intentions known to her husband. Eating that much is enough. Be satisfied with that. Do not eat anymore. Etavad alam. O soul of the universe, Vishwatma, with your satisfaction, the whole universe is also satisfied. In order to give my dear friend great wealth, this is Krishna is saying. Now Krishna says, in order to give my dear friend great wealth, I must eat more than one handful. Krishna is saying. And then she says, your being satisfied alone is the cause of increase of wealth of a person in this life and the next. Therefore, you do not even have to chew much of this hard, tasteless rice. If Krishna chews little more, then he has to give more. This statement of Rukmini is internal, not spoken loudly. For if it were not so, Sudama, understanding her words, would not speak verse 20. That comes later on. Means later on, Sudama, he says, I'm simply Daridra, but how the Lord embraced me. So obviously, at that point of time, he did not know what is expected, what he's going to get. So this was not spoken loudly in front of Sudama, but it was mentally, she's speaking this. Okay, 12.
Shukdev Goswami continued. The Brahmana spent that night in Lord Achyuta's palace after eating and drinking to his full satisfaction. He felt as if he had gone to the spiritual world.
But actually it was spiritual world only.
The next day, Sudama set off for home while being honored by Lord Krishna, the self-satisfied maintainer of the universe. The Brahmana felt greatly delighted, my dear king, as he walked along the road. Purport. We are here reminded that Lord Krishna maintained the supply of desirable objects for the whole universe. Therefore, it is to be understood that he was about to manifest for Sudama opulence greater than Indra's. Being Swasukha, perfectly complete in his own bliss, the Lord has an unlimited capacity for bestowing gifts. According to Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, the word Abhivandita indicates that Sri Krishna accompanied Sudama on the road for a short distance and finally parted with the Brahmana after bowing down to him and speaking some respectful words.
So, and Vishwanath Thakur in his commentary, he writes a nice point. If he can create the universe, so here it is being described that the Supreme Lord is Swasukha, right? Where is that? And this is 13. Yes, Vishwabhavena, yes. He is the maintainer of the entire universe. So therefore he is saying, if he can create the universe by his mere wish, what endeavor is it for him to create a great wealthy house for Sudama? If he can create universes, unlimited universes, then what is there to give some wealth to Sudama? And what endeavor is it for him, if he is filled with bliss, to give such material bliss to Sudama? So this is all very insignificant for the Supreme Lord. So now Sudama expresses 14, we have read? 14.
Although he had apparently received no wealth from Lord Krishna, Sudama was too shy to beg for it on his own. He simply returned home, feeling perfectly satisfied to have had Supreme Lord's audience.
Mahad Darshana Nirvrita. So he was simply satisfied with darshan. He didn't ask for anything. He was too shy to ask. Go ahead.
Sudama thought.
Okay, now these are in 4 verses. Sudama is expressing his great fortune, what great fortune he had, even though he did not get anything, but he's expressing his great fortune. Aho Brahmanya Devasya Drishta Brahmanya Tamaya Yad Daridratamo Lakshmim Ashlishto Viprato Rasi.
Sudama thought, Lord Krishna is known to be devoted to Brahmanas, and now I have personally seen this devotion. Indeed, he who carries the goddess of fortune on his chest has embraced the poorest beggar.
So he's feeling very grateful. Even though he didn't get anything, he's feeling grateful just to have that darshan. I'm so unqualified, I'm so poor. 16. Kwaham daridra papiyan, kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha, Brahma Bandhuriti Smaham, Bahubhyam Parirambitaha.
Who am I? A sinful poor friend of a Brahmana? And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in 6 opulences? Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his 2 arms. Purport. This translation is from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sudama was so humble that he considered his poverty to be his own fault, a result of sin. Such a mentality is in accord with the saying, Daridra dosha guna rashi nashi. The discrepancy of being poor ruins heaps of good qualities.
So he is thinking, I'm so unqualified, Krishna is so great, he's Sriniketana, but still he embraced me. So all these verses are indicating his gratitude. Nivasita priya jushte paryanke bhrataro yatha mahishya vijita shranto bala vyajana hastaya.
He treated me just like one of his brothers, making me sit on the bed of his beloved consort. And because I was fatigued, his queen personally fanned me with a yak-tailed chamara.
Shushrushaya paramaya pada samvahanadhibi pujito deva devena vipradevena devavat.
Although he is the lord of all demigods and the object of worship for all brahmanas, he worshipped me as if I were a demigod myself, massaging my feet and rendering other humble services.
So in these 4 verses we can see Sudama's gratitude for what he has received. And the only thing which he received is basically the darshan, meeting Krishna. That is what he received. And apparently he has not received anything material.
but still he's feeling so grateful for what he has received. So a good lesson on gratitude, being grateful for what one has received. Yes, Madhusan.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I was just going through this verses. I was reminded of this Karmanayvadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan. So just clarifying this. It felt like this is a perfect example for this particular verse and this line. When Krishna says, "Oh, this is always a debatable topic. How can you not be attached when you do something?" Although Sudama didn't want it, although he was sent there, nature of a mind is when you take an initiative, you immediately get attached to it, attached to the result. And the only way he could, looks like, counteract that attachment to success or the wealth, because his heart was filled with gratitude. And I'm just kind of reminiscing on this. Maybe that's the reason why gratitude is such an important quality to cultivate. Unless we have that, we really cannot give up attachment to results.
Correct.
And this also always reflected.
Yes, correct. Perfectly said. Of course, from a philosophical viewpoint, this is not exactly Karmani Evadikaras, because that verse is on the platform of Karma Yoga. But this is on the topmost platform of Bhakti. Yes, yes. But the detachment from fruits, yes, that principle is correct. Correct. Yes. That was our subject matter of the Sunday class. So if we are always, if we don't have the gratitude, then we'll always be expecting more. And we will think that I deserve more. But if one is grateful, then one is satisfied with what one is given. And one, just like here, he's thinking, I'm so unqualified, I'm poor, I'm sinful, I don't even deserve this much. So then what to speak of expecting more? He thinks what I have got only is more than what I deserve. So then obviously one is very much satisfied with what one has got. Yes, thank you.
This in the 16th verse purport, the discrepancy of being poor ruins heaps of good qualities. Means if somebody is poor, can't he exhibit good qualities? Means what is the problem?
Yeah, so because if somebody is physically poor or materially poor, then if he is not a devotee, then obviously he'll be blaming the Lord. He will be thinking, I'm so unfortunate, this, that. So it's very difficult for somebody to exhibit good qualities, isn't it? Now here, Sudama, because he's a devotee and he's grateful for what he has received, therefore he's able to develop the good qualities. But normally, if a person is poor, then he'll be cursing himself and cursing the Lord.
Even the rich people, they exhibit more bad qualities than the poor.
Because they are also poor. Prabhupada says that, na? The poor are also poor, the rich are also poor. If one does not have spiritual knowledge, everyone is poor. So therefore, neither the poor nor the rich can have any good qualities unless they have the wealth of Krishna consciousness. That is the real wealth.
Is it so that poor people, they need to depend on their needs to others, and they may have to beg, and that's why good qualities are destroyed of when poor people?
Yes, so yes, the poor person who is not a devotee will obviously be yes, they may take to all wrong means of activity, beg, borrow, steal. So they may do all crimes and this and that. Then all the good qualities are going to go away. But of course, the real poverty is lack of Krishna consciousness. That is true. Somebody want Same. Yes. Oh, mic में बोलो उनको सुनाए.
This, along with the gratitude, actually this gratitude cannot stay unless somebody is situated in mode of goodness. Because this verse also karmanya vadikaraste, or even higher than that. One has to be satisfied with this knowledge that whatever destiny is there, this much only I can earn, and he has to be yad ichchaya labha santushta.
Correct.
So without mode of goodness, gratitude will not stay.
Correct. That's true. That's true. Good qualities, the mode of goodness, there'll be good qualities. That is correct. Yesterday we had the whole discussion on satisfaction. Okay. Where are we? 19, right? Swargapavargayo pumsam rasayam bhuvi sampadam sarvasamapi siddhinam moolam taccharanarchanam.
Devotional service to his lotus feet is the root cause of all the perfections a person can find in heaven, in liberation, in the subterranean regions, and on earth.
Okay, so Shukdev Goswami is speaking this beautiful verse to indicate that ultimately it is moolam taccharanarchanam. So it is the worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord that will result in this attitude which Sudama is showing over here. So that is the root cause of all perfections. Wherever the person might be, if he has devotional service, Swarga Pavarganarkeshu Apitulyartha Darshana, then he can exhibit all these good qualities. Okay, 20.
Translation.
Adhanoyam dhanam prapya madhyan uchay namam smaret iti karuniko nunam dhanam me bhurina dadat.
Thinking, if this poor wretch suddenly becomes rich, he will forget me in his intoxicating happiness. The compassionate Lord did not grant me even a little wealth.
This Sudama is thinking. Sudama is thinking that the Lord must have thought like that. That if this poor fellow is given so much of wealth, he'll become proud and he'll forget the Lord. Purport?
Sudama's statement that Lord Krishna bestowed on him not even a little wealth may also be taken to mean that instead of giving him wealth that was abhuri, slight, the Lord in fact gave him the immense treasure of his association. This alternate meaning has been suggested by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti gives two meanings actually. He did not give me even a little wealth. Abhuri api na adada. Another meaning is, he did not give me anything is my great wealth. The Lord didn't give me any wealth. That itself is the greatest wealth, because he is thinking that if the Lord would have given me more wealth, I would become proud and I would forget the Lord. So therefore, not giving the material wealth is itself great wealth. And the other meaning is, that's what written here. Certainly he did not give me a little wealth, but gave me great wealth of his association. So both the meanings are there.
That Lord didn't give me anything. So that itself means he was thinking. If he would be really indifferent, he would have not thought also that भगवान ने दिया ही नहीं. घर पे जाने के बाद अरे हाँ मैंने मांगना भूल गया. He would have realized after going home, but now he's thinking भगवान ने दिया नहीं क्योंकि शायद maybe I would have become proud. So that means he had some desire like that or something.
No, I mean see, we must see it in the context of all the previous verses. See the context of all the previous verses. In all the previous verses, he is so grateful that he has got association, the Lord welcomed him, all that. He's so grateful for all that. And so along with that, he is thinking that, okay, because he knows that his wife sent him for what? He knows that, no? His wife sent him basically to ask for wealth only. And so now, so therefore that thought is also there in his mind, that the wife has sent for wealth, but the Lord has not given anything. And so he is thinking, that is also good for me. You can see the entire thing is gratitude only. So the initial verses are also of gratitude. And that thought that the Lord has not given me any wealth, that also he is thanking the Lord, because it is for my benefit only the Lord did not give me anything. Because he knows that he's not complaining about it, but he knows the fact now that his wife sent him for wealth. He knows that. So therefore,
but he was also sort of ashamed to ask, and he may have pondered that, I am ashamed to ask and let it not come, that type, because he was clearly ashamed to ask, and so he never actually, to the question that Prabhuji said, he never wanted to ask in the first place. He was just by force, he was trying to, and he had his own motive of coming to take darshan of Krishna. He was pure in his own sense.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
In this regard, as far as my understanding goes, there may be the trick of the mind, but what matters is what response you give it to it and how you move forward. So there is a question that is coming. Even if somebody is Atma Ram, a pure devotee, not that those kind of thoughts, anything may not come. But the point is, how do you react to it and where you find your contentment? So the question came, well, I came here. It's like it's a very basic human nature that will obviously happen because you still have a mind. But I came here, it didn't happen. Well, it didn't happen because I got something better. And he's happy and he's moving forward. So I believe that's a genuine thing to happen. Probably it's not that for Atmaram, a pure devotee, even this will not happen.
Yeah, because basically his wife sent him for that only.
There was an objective.
Yeah, so therefore that thought definitely will come. My wife sent me for this, but I have not got anything. But then even in that situation, he's thinking it's for my benefit. So,
but if he had got, if he had,
ठीक है, Radha Kunj Bhai, you speak. Then after that, yeah.
If he had got, actually, it would have been. He must have felt ashamed also. Maybe because of everything put together, Lord did the right thing, and he's also thinking that way.
Right, correct.
There's one incident of Tukaram Maharaj where his wife sends him to sell the chilies. She takes some loan, and in Konkan he goes for selling and red chili. So he goes, sells, and some people give, some people, Lord himself comes, and that, and he gives him that money, and he comes with some 200 rupees while coming. While coming, he sees one fellow is suffering, he's tied some stone, and then he's like moving. He says, what happened? He said, I had taken some 200 rupees loan from somebody, now he's punishing me. So he immediately gives that 200 rupees to a fellow, which he has got, and he comes back home empty-handed. And then wife says, I sent you with those chilies, and where are the money? And then he's like thinking, oh, acha, that. So he was completely indifferent that for what my wife has sent, and he helped that fellow. And after coming home, he realized that. So, like I was just comparing.
Right. Okay, fine. Let's proceed. 21-23.
Please. Sukadeva Goswami continued. Thinking thus to himself, Sudama finally came to the place where his home stood. But that place was now crowded on all sides with towering celestial palaces, rivaling the combined brilliance of the sun, fire, and the moon.
Can't imagine, na? Combined brilliance of sun, fire, and moon. What must be those palaces?
There were splendorous courtyards, gardens, each filled with flocks of cooing birds, beautified by ponds in which Kumuda, Amboja, Kahlar, Utpala lotuses grew. Finally, attired man, doe-eyed woman stood in attendance. Sudama wondered, what is all this? Whose property is it? How has this all come about?
Purport.
Srila Sridhar Swami gives the sequence of the Brahmana's thought. First, seeing a great unfamiliar effulgence, he thought, what is this? Then noting the palaces, he asked himself, whose place is this? And recognizing it as his own, he wondered, how has it become so transformed?
So suppressed. Good. 24.
As he continued to ponder in this way, the beautiful man and maidservants, as effulgent as Devatas, came forward to greet their greatly fortunate master with loud song and instrumental music. As explained by Acharya Vishnu Chakati, the word Pratyagrahanan, they acknowledge in turn, indicates that first Sudama accepted the servants within his mind, deciding, my Lord must want me to have them. And in response to the visible change in his attitude, they approached him as their master.
Okay, so the servants came, he accepted them because the Lord has sent them. Okay, good.
When she heard that her husband had arrived, the Brahmana's wife quickly came out of the house in a jubilant flurry. She resembled the goddess of fortune herself emerging from her divine abode. Srila Sridhar Swami points out that since Lord Krishna had turned Sudama's home into an heavenly abode, everyone living there now possessed beautiful bodies, attire appropriate to the residence of heaven. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds this insight. The night before, Sudama's poor, emaciated wife had been sleeping in rags under a crumbling roof. But when she woke up in the morning, she found herself her house wonderfully changed. Only for a moment was she confused. She then realized that this opulence was the Lord's gift to her husband, who must be on his way home. Thus she prepared to greet him.
Yes. So overnight it happened. Just like Dwarka was created overnight. So similarly, these palaces also were created overnight. Okay, next.
When the chaste lady saw her husband, her eyes filled with tears of love and eagerness. As she held her eyes closed, she solemnly bowed down to him, and in her heart she embraced him.
Next.
Oops. Sudama was amazed to see his wife shining forth in the midst of maidservants adorned with jeweled lockets. She looked as effulgent as a demigoddess in a celestial airplane. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti explains that up to now the Supreme Lord had kept the Brahmana in his wretched state so that his wife could recognize him.
Yes, so he says the Lord did not transform Sudama with his old cloth and protruding veins so that his wife would recognize him. Otherwise, she would not. 28.
With pleasure, he took his wife with him and entered his house, where there were hundreds of gem-studded pillars.
थोड़ा ऊपर ले लो.
क्या लाइट से कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है? लाइट बंद कर दिया आपने. दिख नहीं रहा मुझे.
थोड़ा वो बीच वाला ऑन करो.
Just as in the palace of the Lord Mahendra. Purport.
You have to go to this palace. There you'll find gem-studded pillars. No need of light.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Sudama was simply astonished at the sight of his wife. As he wondered, who is this demigod's wife who has approached such a fallen soul as me? The maid servants inform him, this is indeed your wife. At that very moment, Sudama's body became young and beautiful, bedecked in a fine clothing and jewelry. The word Prita here indicates that these changes give him considerable pleasure. The famous 1000 names of Vishnu hymn of Mahabharata immortalizes Sudama's sudden opulence in the following phrase. Sudama rank bhaktartha bhumya anitendra vaibhava. Lord Vishnu is also known as he who brought Indra's opulence to this earth for the benefit of his pitiful devotee, Sudama.
Okay, so finally the Lord changed him also. When both of them recognized each other, then the Lord changed him also. Okay, 29 to 32. This side, it's not coming.
In Sudama's home were beds as soft and white as the foam of milk, with bedstead made of ivory and ornamented with gold. There were also couches with golden legs, as well as royal charmer fans, golden thrones, soft cushions, gleaming canopies, hung with strings of pearls. Upon the walls of sparkling crystal glass, inlaid with precious emeralds, shone jeweled lamps, and the women in the palace were all adorned with precious gems. As he viewed this luxurious opulence of all varieties, the Brahman calmly reasoned to himself about his unexpected prosperity.
So much opulence. Okay, so now Sudama is thinking.
Sudama thought, I have always been poor. Certainly, the only possible way that such an unfortunate person as myself could become suddenly rich is that Lord Krishna, the supremely opulent chief of the Yadu dynasty, has glanced upon me.
So you see, he's always thinking himself, Daridra, I am poor, unfortunate, but this is all causeless mercy. Yadu uttamasya avalokata anya na eva upapedya yadu uttamasya. So Yadu uttamasya, Supreme Lord has glanced. That is the only reason why this Daridra has got so much samriddhi, prosperity. 34.
After all, my friend Krishna, the most exalted of the Dasharas and the enjoyer of unlimited wealth, noticed that I secretly intended to beg from him. Thus, even though beg from him. Thus, even though he said nothing about it, when I stood before him, he actually bestowed upon me the most abundant riches. In this way, he acted just like a merciful rain cloud. Purport? Sri Krishna is Bhuri Bhoj, the unlimited enjoyer. He did not tell Sudama how he was going to fulfill his unspoken request because, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, he was thinking at the time, my dear friend has given me these grains of rice, which are greater than all the treasures I own. Even though in his own house he had no such gift to bring to me, he took the trouble of begging it from a neighbor. Therefore, it is only proper that I give him something more valuable than all my possessions. But nothing is equal to or greater than what I possess. So, all I can do is give him such meager things as the treasures of Indra, Brahma, and other demigods. Embarrassed at being unable to properly reciprocate his devotee's offering, Lord Krishna bestowed his favor on the Brahmana silently. The Lord acted just like a magnanimous rain cloud which provides the necessities of life for everyone near and far, but feels ashamed that its rain is too insignificant a gift to give in return for the abundant offerings that farmers make to it. Out of shame, the cloud may wait until night time when the farmers are asleep before watering the fields. The chiefs of the Dashara clan, with whom Lord Krishna is identified in this verse, were especially renowned for their generosity.
So you see, Sudama is thinking one thing, but Acharyas are giving another explanation. Yeah. Sudama is thinking, because I secretly had that desire to have wealth, therefore the Lord fulfilled my desire. That is what Sudama is thinking. But the Acharyas are explaining that actually the Lord thought, how can I reciprocate with Sudama? Because he went out of his way to get that flat rice. So it was beyond his capacity. Therefore, I also have to reciprocate beyond my capacity. But what is beyond Lord's capacity? Everything belongs to him. So therefore, the Lord feels that giving even wealth as much as Indra and Brahma is less. So therefore, he doesn't want to give it openly. He said, okay, secretly I'll give it. So just like the cloud gives rain. So amazing reciprocation between the Lord and his devotees. Okay, 35.
The Lord.
Huh? Oh, so here, so the farmers may do, maybe they do sacrifices and other things, just like they were doing Indra Puja in Vrindavan. So like that, they may be doing some different sacrifice things.
Farmers are very eager for the rain, but when they go to sleep, whole night it rains and next day morning they feel happy.
Yeah, same thing is explained. Same thing here also. Same thing is explained. Yes. So articles of worship from the farmer. Thinking that what he gives is very little, though great by the expectations of the farmer, the cloud in embarrassment does not give rain in the presence of the farmer, but gives rain at night while the farmer is sleeping. This is the position of Krishna, the best of the generous dynasty of the Yadus. Okay, fine. 35.
The Lord considers even his greatest benedictions to be insignificant, while he magnifies even a small service rendered to him by his well-wishing devotee. Thus, with pleasure, the Supreme Soul accepted a single palmful of the flat rice I brought him.
Yes, so what are other examples for this? The Lord considers even his greatest benedictions to be insignificant, and he magnifies even small service. Okay, one good example is Duki. Yes, she was doing small service, but the Lord took it to be very significant.
Sridhar Kolavecha.
Yes, Sridhar Kolavecha also good example. Okay, the squirrel in Ram Leela. Yes, to the gopis also the Lord says, I cannot repay the debt. Any other examples?
Nagapatnis also, they offered the prayers to the Lord. They internally Brahman Patnis also, they give.
Yes, the Brahman Patnis. Yes. Of course, we also have the example of the fruit vendor. Yes, the South Indian Brahman. Who? Which South Indian Brahman? Okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was reading the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, small service, following the instruction of spiritual master. Also, of course, we also have that other South Indian Brahman at Pratishtanpur who was cooking sweet rice in the mind. You know the story, no? He was cooking sweet rice in the mind, but the Lord brought him to Vaikunta. Of course, we also have, in that same context, Narsimanand Brahmachari. Shuklamba Brahmachari, yes, we can take Shuklamba Brahmachari also. He was simply begging some things and the Lord snatched. Sridhar Kolavechar. And of course, we also have Raghunath Das Goswami, who was eating that rotten rice, but the Lord snatched it. So all these examples show that it is not the externals of the offering that are important, but it is the mood, the devotion, the attitude, the purity. All these are much more important than the externals. The externals are important as long as there is the substance. Okay, so of course the externals are also important, but the substance is more important. If substance is there, externals are there, both are there, then it's very good. Yes, Vidurani. Yes, banana pits. Okay, 36.
The Lord is the supremely compassionate reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Life after life, may I serve Him with love, friendship, and sympathy. And may I cultivate such firm attachment for Him by the precious association of His devotees.
So this is Sudama's desires, what he is desiring from the Lord.
But as explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Saurudam here signifies affection toward Him who is so compassionate to His devotees. Sakhyam is affinity manifested in the desire to live in His company. Maitri is the attitude of intimate comradeship. And Dasyam is the urge to do service.
So this is the prayer that Sudama is offering to the Lord. This is what he's desiring. 37.
To a devotee who lacks spiritual insight, the Supreme Lord will not grant the wonderful opulence of this world, kingly power and material assets. Indeed, in His infinite wisdom, the unborn Lord well knows how the intoxication of pride can cause the downfall of the wealthy. Purport. As explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the humble Brahmana Sudama considered himself unworthy of the Supreme Lord's most rare and valuable benediction, pure devotional service. He reasoned that if he had any true devotion, the Lord would have granted him perfect, unflinching devotion rather than the material riches and servants he had received. Lord Krishna would have protected a more serious devotee by denying him such distractions. The Lord will give a sincere but less intelligent devotee not as much material wealth as he desires, but only what will promote his devotional progress. Sudama thought a great saint like Prahlad Maharaj can avoid becoming contaminated by immeasurable wealth, power, and fame, but I must always be wary of temptation in my new situation. We may understand that this humble attitude assured Sudama Vipra final success in his execution of Bhakti Yoga by the standard process of hearing and repeating the glories of Lord Krishna.
Okay, so good lesson to learn here. See, Sudama has got all this, but he is not dancing in ecstasy. He is thinking, actually, this is not mercy of Lord. If the Lord would have actually been merciful, He would have given me pure devotional service, not all this distraction. So he is thinking, actually, the Lord has not really favored me by giving this wealth. So you can see he's always maintaining that humble position, and as being mentioned always, that humble attitude which actually gave him that success. So we'll just read Vishwanath Thakur, he puts it a little more graphically. So he says, so you have devotion, and the result of that devotion is gaining wealth. No, I do not have bhakti, and the result of bhakti is not wealth. That is expressed in this verse. He does not give wealth, power, or wife and family, There is no danger for them if the Lord gives wealth to such intelligent devotees as Prahlad. However, I am not intelligent, Adirga Bodhaya, since I have no devotion, so the Lord does not give it to me. This means that Sudama, having got that wealth, then thought, what is the use of it? Enjoying what was there as was necessary to maintain himself, he became fixed in his vows, and sleeping on the earth, he became completely absorbed in hearing, chanting, and other types of. That means even after getting all this, he was not affected. He was still continuing to live his poor life only. The Lord does not increase wealth to make the devotee happy. However, some say that he will give a slight amount in order to help the service the devotee is performing in prema. And when the Lord knows what is best for the devotee. But here we can learn the humble attitude of Sudama, that in spite of receiving all that, he is thinking that, well, I'm not actually received the mercy if the Lord would have actually mercifully given pure devotional service. Okay, 38.
Shukdev Goswami continued, thus firmly fixing his determination by means of his spiritual intelligence, Sudama remained absolutely devoted to Lord Krishna, the shelter of all living beings. Free from avarice, he enjoyed together with his wife the sense pleasures that had been bestowed upon him, always with the idea of eventually renouncing all sense gratification.
So he enjoyed all those pleasures, but with the idea of eventually renouncing. So whatever was required, he might have used.
Lord Hari is the God of all gods, the master of all sacrifices, and the supreme ruler. But he accepts the saintly Brahmanas as his masters, and so there exists no deity higher than them. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that even though Sri Krishna is the supreme ruler of creation, he accepts the Brahmanas as his masters. Even though he is the God of all gods, the Brahmanas are his deities, and even though he is the Lord of all sacrifices, he performs sacrifices to worship them.
Okay, let's recite 40. Evam savipro bhagavat surattada drishtva svabhartrir ajitam parajitam tadhyana vegod gratitatma bandhanas tadhama lebhe chirata satam gatin.
Thus, seeing how the unconquerable Supreme Lord is nonetheless conquered by his own servants, the Lord's dear Brahmana friends felt the remaining knots of material attachment within his heart being cut by the force of his constant meditation on the Lord. In a short time, he attained Lord Krishna's supreme abode, the destination of great saints. Sudama's earthly fortune has been described, and now Sukadeva Goswami describes the treasure the Brahmana enjoyed in the next world. Sri Jiva Goswami mentions that Sudama's last stress of illusion lay in the subtle pride of being a renounced Brahmana. This trace was also destroyed by his contemplating the Supreme Lord's submission to his devotees.
Right? So he still had that last trace of pride that I'm very renounced. So even that last trace was cut off by his meditation on the Supreme Lord, and he achieved the Lord's abode. Etad brahmanya devasya shrutva brahmanyatam naraha labdha bhavo bhagavati karma bandhat vimuchyate.
The Lord always shows Brahmanas special favor. Anyone who hears this account of the Supreme Lord's kindness to Brahmanas will come to develop love for the Lord and thus become freed from the bondage of material work.
This is Falashruti. Yes.
In the introduction to the chapter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, that describes his pastime, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada comments, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of all living entities, knows everyone's heart very well. He is especially inclined to the Brahmana devotees. Lord Krishna is also called Brahmanya Deva, which means that he is worshipped by the Brahmanas. Therefore, it is understood that a devotee is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality Godhead has already acquired the position of a Brahmana. Without becoming a Brahmana, one cannot approach the Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna. Krishna is especially concerned with vanquishing the distress of his devotees, and he is the only shelter of pure devotees. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 81st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled, The Lord Blesses Sudama Brahmana.
Harivo. So we are on time. Just about 2 minutes late.
So it is mentioned, Lord Krishna is also called Brahmanya Deva, which means that he is worshipped by the Brahmanas. Therefore, it is understood that a devotee who is fully surrendered has already acquired the position of a Brahmana. And that Prabhupada, without becoming a Brahmana, one cannot approach the Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna. So I have seen that somehow there is kind of a little push, internal push or requirement where devotees feel that it is needed for me to become, get Brahman Diksha. So, I mean, I fail to understand sometimes. So, what's the reason for it? Why devotees are so eager? And not necessarily that they're really going to go to the altar and do deity worship, which is fantastic. But sometimes not possible. Like in my case, it's not possible right now. But I've seen still, despite they have no intention to go on the altar, but they're very eager for this. Is it because some statements like this give them an indication that Bhakti will not be accepted or something?
Maybe you have to ask them. Of course, there could be various reasons. There could be social pressures, peer pressures. So many things could be there. But of course, ultimately the reason is that if one gets an opportunity to worship the Lord, then definitely that gives a greater chance for service and purification. So that is definitely there. In any case, there could be different reasons or a combination of different reasons why a person could be eager for getting the Brahman Diksha. But in any case, whatever it is, if one is able to render more service and get purified, that's good.
That's intention. That's not. Question here is, if that's an intention, that's fantastic. But in case if you're not doing that, and if that's not the intention also, then why for it?
So that's what I said. There could be other reasons.
Or something like this, without becoming a Brahmana, one cannot approach the Supreme Brahman.
So of course, basically it refers to the Brahmanical qualities.
No, it has no connection with this thread actually.
Yes.
It has no connection with this
Yes,
thread.
Srila Prabhupada says it very clearly. It is not external. It's not about 2 paisa thread. It is not about that. It is basically about the qualities, Brahmanical qualities, which definitely are essential to come to Shuddha Sattva. So that is the essential principle. Principle is Brahmanical qualities are required to come to Shuddha Sattva. That is the principle. Now, as far as this external Diksha is concerned, now there could be various reasons. Yes, purification. Yes. Correct. Correct. So purification. Yes. Correct. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I'd like to express my gratitude to especially Arjuneshwar Prabhu for kindly giving a little bit of push so that I get an opportunity to study the Bhagavatam, this beautiful section of the Bhagavatam, along with such wonderful, exalted, sincere devotees. So this is actually the goal of our Krishna consciousness, right? Macchitta Madgata Prana, to study and discuss Bhagavatam and the pastimes of the Lord in the association of devotees, and in the association so much churning takes place, so much discussion, so many realizations. So definitely I have benefited so much, unlimitedly, by this wonderful service in your association. So I'm extremely grateful to all of you for kindly allowing me to render this service and gain so much of benefit. So thank you all very much, and we look forward to your association next time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have seen the Sudama's pastime. So I can see also the Brahmanical qualities manifested in his case, Vanshvadan Prabhu. He's only happy reading, hearing, teaching, reading, hearing, patan, patan.
So you have all of you have to bless me that someday I can get these qualities. Maybe some lifetime, few lifetimes it will take.
That is not the only one thing. Throughout the session, he was not only reading. I was just discussing with Prabhuji. He said, If I am only reading, then you can also read your own. Why the class is there? So we have to discuss. We have to discuss, churn the matter, analyze in a different way, have a Bhagavad Charcha. This is called as a Charcha, Bhagavad Charcha, discussion, how to imbibe this principle more deeper, develop the attachment to Prabhupada, Acharya, Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was happening. There were arguments, but it is all good because there has to be multiple things. So he is doing the actual work of Brahman. So we also request his guest Vamshi Prabhu to keep giving his association again and again. I also asked Ajahn Prabhu that why you are not asking Prabhuji. He is giving to Bhakti Shastri, but he is not coming to us only. So I also thank Ajahn Prabhu for inviting him.
Prabhuji, wonderful class.
So therefore, we express our gratitude to his guest Vamshi Prabhu and request him to again and again come here. So we'll chant one time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So the best thing what I like is actually the principles that he's setting and how he draws those principles, and then left, right, and center he's able to, quote from Canto 1, Canto 8. And this is the way actually we also learning from Prabhuji that how scrutinizingly we should read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially the discussions, how he's drawing principles. So Prabhuji, thank you very much that I'm learning so much from you. Of course, being a teacher of Bhakti Vaibhav and Bhakti Shastri, this is helping me also to study and teach others also very nicely. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much.
Thank you very much for your kind presence and
Thank you so much for
contributing
your
to the
association.
discussion.
Keep giving. Prabhuji, please keep giving your association always, over and over.
Hare Krishna. So I also like to thank all the online devotees for kindly, patiently being with us.
Yeah, sometimes, Prabhuji, we feel that we are not a part, but I though keep on interfering in between. So I'm very sorry. But then
No,
I
that's
will not be interested. I mean, that is the driving force maybe for us, that at least we feel that we should keep on interrupting and giving our also some.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Everyone's contribution is valuable. That's correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. So you have to announce when is the next.
Hare Krishna. So as we discussed earlier also with all devotees. So next our month,
Hare
next
Krishna,
month,
Suno.
Bhakti Vedanta classes for next unit will start from 11th, 10:30, 11th February, 11th, 12th, 13th, three days, 10:30 to 2:30, 4 hours. 4 hours. Prabhuji is only taking these classes. So we are very fortunate. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, bro. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. About the exam details or closed book exams, I will message. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Archaneshwar Prabhu, thank you very much for coordinating so wonderfully. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare.